Hello and welcome in to Div 1 promotion tournament. It is time. 2 Div 2 teams, 2 Div 1 teams, 4 game days. Myself and Veteran to kick it off. Veteran, welcome into the stream. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Always good to watch the younguns coming up and the younguns going down, right? We have two competing angles happening here, and Blue Whites, they've been here before on the other side. Let's see where it goes. I always love these ones. There's always a lot at stake. You only get one shot at this, right? No second chances.
Yeah, winner of this will go on to the finals of the promotion tournament straight away. This is the upper bracket. It is going to be Rich Gang taking on Blue Whites. And what a matchup this is going to be. As you said, Blue Whites have already been in this promotion tournament before, and the team they had to beat in the finals to get here was Rich Gang themselves.
Woo!
Now, given it was a different Rich Gang, but it is pretty much the same Blue Whites that are returning again.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting to me because obviously we've seen a completely different for an entire split, but now we've got they're like, all right, that didn't go well. They hit the go back button, right? And now we've got those new guys back. Actually, I was introduced to this by J-Will, so I actually like to hear your thoughts on this whole transition back.
Yeah,
transition, whatever we're calling it.
I feel like it was a bit of a strange one because I watched Blue Whites in Div 1 and it feels like they kind of were having some okay moments, but then they were always kind of falling behind early, which I guess wasn't super crazy compared watching them in Div 2, right? Again, it wasn't like they were the most out of the gate team, rip it open. They were very good in the late game stages especially, but it felt like they just kind of never had that composure, and obviously they tried new things, they changed around the teams, they managed to get a couple of wins in the last couple of weeks, but I feel like going back to what they know, going back to the classic 5-finish roster, I feel like it sounds like a good idea. And you know what? If it got them to this position before, why can it not do it again, Veteran?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just want to say, the Blue Whites that we saw in summer, so experimental. And there were so many things that they actually started trying that I did see replicated in a lot of other teams. No one really pointed this out, and honestly, I didn't really either, because when you get towards those grand finals, you are looking at the really big teams, but a lot of the ways that Ruddy were drafting later on reminded me of a lot of the experiments that Blue Whites were trying partway through the split to try to get those successive wins. I hope that level of creativity is transposed onto the Blue Whites roster they have now, because that could be a very, very deadly combo. And I do think one thing that does have to be said, when you do this kind of switch, right, and you've had that kind of fundamental difference for an entire split, it does make you much harder to scout at this particular point. I don't really know. I hope we get that kind of fusion of the creativity of the new Blue Whites as well as the synergy of the old Blue Whites. But it's difficult to say what form we're going to find Blue Whites coming in.
Well, we'll have to find out through the games. I'm glad that you like creativity, though, and something a little bit different, because Rich Gang, the team coming from Div 2, are that in spades. They like to go for a bit of a weird pick. They don't necessarily always stick to the meta. I will say in the finals, they did play a little bit more classic League of Legends, but they can really just kind of throw that out the window. They are ready to break up the rulebook and pick up what they want. They're a very aggressive early game team as well, Veterans, so that's the thing Blue Whites are going to definitely have to watch out for. However, they are notorious for being their own worst enemy in some of these games.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that I really love about them, though, is their affluence for those topside carries, right? And in very, very big ways, right? So I do hope to see a lot more of these kind of AD splits, worst case Gwen, this kind of stuff on topside. The Rich Gang I remember from spring as well was really, really big on stuff like the Gangplank and these wider map states. And I think you see that transposed onto the new picks now. Fundamentally, you're trying to achieve the same thing. You're trying to achieve some kind of a wide map. You're trying to drag everybody every way, trying not to listen to your jungler. And you're trying to do as well as you can within that element of chaos that you more or less control. I think it's a really good thing to do. And it does throw a curveball into the kind of compositions we saw Blue White doing in the summer, because those are compositions that do really well when they join together. So if Blue Whites do transpose that kind of creative snowball, it's not like a wrecking ball composition. It was more of these really big heals, shields based comps with infinite sustain. If you can prevent that grouping together, you do prevent a lot of where that power was coming from with that lineup. And I feel like Rich can kind of naturally fit into that focal.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about Rich Gang. I don't know how they make this happen, but in spring, completely different team to who they brought through in summer, but very similar energy, very similar ways to play, very similar. We're just good at hands. We're just better on mechanics. We will just run through you. We'll take the game early. We'll end the game. We might give you a couple of throws here and there, but eventually we'll take the game home. And I don't know what it is about Rich Gang as an org, but they just seem to always get this energy of team.
I mean, Look, mate, there is more than a non-zero chance I'll actually see Vayne picked in a good Vayne situation today. So I am actually just really, really happy to be able to cast this particular games because I'm not going to see that kind of stuff passed up. And I hope I don't see that kind of stuff passed up. Yes, maybe we just end up getting like Gnar all the time, but the way that you play these kinds of champions out is still very, very interesting, even if they're the kind of champions that we see before. But these guys, yeah, like you're saying, they're not afraid to bring it. Neither of these teams, realistically, at this point, can we say are afraid to bring out the things they're comfortable on, they feel really strong on, that do bring some kind of variety in towards the meta.
And I am looking forward to a couple of picks, right? There are a few on my radar that I do kind of want to bring up. Jace mid for Karosh is one that I really like watching. I feel like it's a little bit different. We don't necessarily see that picked as often and can definitely deal with a lot of instances. The Lilia for Slice has been banned a lot in Div 2 in the promos. It was banned so much in playoffs, so definitely has some potential. But also the Gwen jungle, dangerous from this player.
Yes. Yeah, I do love the absolute presence of Gwen pretty much no matter what, but Gwen in the jungle does indicate stuff like the Jace that you're talking about there, right? It does open up more of those picks, and I wonder if that would be something they've been thinking about, given that you are seeing the mid pool lean back in towards those mages, right? Mages are actually pretty good right now in the mid lane. Ryze is actually one of the really strong champions that you can see a lot. Orianna is coming back into the meta, which obviously this guy also plays, but Jace is a really good counter into a lot of the champions that I am naming right now. And if you're going to do that and you have Gwen in the jungle, you now have a really perfect damage mix that you can go for. Low CC, sure, but then it just becomes more of like a skill issue and a matter of execution with that kiting that you are allowed to do with stuff like the Jason Gwen later on. 2 items is like any other kind of a Gwen, right? You do have a split pusher there that you can work with, particularly if you play it towards Baron's side. So I do love those kinds of picks. And I do wonder about the kind of AD champs that would open in midsection. Obviously, we're getting away from the AD carry meta in mid lane now, right? But there are still good AD counters to those particular champs because we are no longer in that mage meta where stopwatch is a big deal, right? Where everybody is just slamming that item really, really early into all these champs, going into the Zhonya's, basically being a tank. AD champs are much more viable now, just a different form of AD champion than what we were used to before, as I tried to bring us back into holy hecking loving Arcane Jinx returning in 1418.
Yeah, Jinx is definitely coming back. I feel like Ezreal, not in Arcane just yet, but is in Piltover. Also been quite high on priority. Yone, I've been casting a lot of EPL. Yone has been massive there. It seems to be going everywhere. And also Nasus mid veteran. I have seen so much Nasus mid veteran in the last week, and I'm wondering if we're going to see it here today. We talk about experimentation. This could easily be on the map.
Azir Kalista is like the perfect time to start slamming Nasus. I still think even when the nerfs come in, are we on the patch where the Nasus nerfs are coming in, or is that 1418? That might be 1418. But even when that happens, Nasus mid is still going to be really viable with the older yellow setup, where you're going for both QW max rather than going the 3 points in E variety. More than the 3 points in E variety, Nasus is just always going to be really strong into some kind of like multiple ADC meta. All this kind of stuff. So, like, if Yone is on the table, yes, Nasus is something that you're going to think about if there's Yone plus AD carry. Varus is still going to be really, really strong in the mid lane right now, right? The Lethality Varus is absolutely everywhere. You are going to think about Nasus going into that. So, yes, there is a lot of room for that champion 100%. It's always being underrated because even in the mage meta, it's really good into Azir. People are like, oh no, you get bullied out. Well, that's great. Well, then you pick Nasus and you lane swap, right? And Nasus always has an area of the map to lean towards. It's much harder for Azir to just straight bully. Or you have 2 winning sides and you pick Nasus in that scenario, in which case you can even go for an early pick Nasus because you want to be winning out on sides and shoving your Leona, Rel, Nautilus, basically always those 3 champs in towards midsection to help get the first recalls, because once you get your CDR and a little bit of HP, Nasus basically runs over any lane. So you do have ways to get around those particular problems, but Nasus is still going to be viable in that mage meta as long as stuff like being played.
Now, I want to bring it back to these two teams, and I want to talk about bot lane, because I feel like
Go for it.
Mirai and Kansky have been a very, very big staple of RG's wins, right? It has been a stronghold for them. The Zeri picks have been coming in through very powerful. And if you've got Kansky on the team, you're getting an engaged support, right? Whether it be Alistair, Leona, Nautilus, Rel, they got it all. Even a little Rakan if you want some more. But on the flip side, MKR, very solid ADC. He plays literally seemingly everything, right? I think he's played 1 champion twice, and that was Karma in the regular split in support, and even played Jax at one point.
He played... Okay, so this is where my knowledge is going to come in a bit poorly here. Let me just actually bring up this guy's match history on my second screen for this. I'm not going to try to pretend I can just cite everything he's done. When did he do the Jax game? Assuming I've got the right one.
It was in summer, apparently. I can try and find the actual game. A little bit of stat checking.
Doesn't matter so much. I do see the Samira there, which is going to be really funny when the Samira buffs come in. I do think with the Varus, you're likely to see some of that now potentially flex with the way that the lethality is. Is that just for us, or can they see?
Yeah, that's just for us. Yeah. Stream
Okay,
can't
cool.
see
Yeah.
that. We only drafted about a minute if you guys want to know what we're talking about.
There you go. The Ezreal, I actually really like as a high pro. Whenever I think about Ezreal, though, I'm constantly thinking about the presence of Nautilus, Vi, about champions like this. Nautilus definitely is a big one that's going to be picked into him in the current matchup. But I do wonder if Leona gets over prioritized, which would make Ezreal a more safer pick. That's always something that I'm thinking about when I see Ezreal there. A lot of people are like, Leona's just ridiculously strong. You should always pick her. I still think if you're going for something like the Zeri or the Ezreal, it should be that you go Nautilus into that. And if you go something low mobility, you should be going for the Leona. So say that he was to go for his Aphelios or even his Jinx, which isn't that meta, you would then be considering the Leona there. But I actually think the majority of this guy's champ pool is going to get destroyed by Nautilus instead. So let's see what Egets does.
Okay, well, I found the game, by the way. It was week 2, day 1. Played Jax with the Jinx into Senna Nautilus. That was the
oh, wait,
matchup.
Are you talking about Egets?
Yeah, Egets playing Jax. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said MKR played.
Oh, no, that would be mad. Like, that would be.
That was the confusion.
Truly
I'm
insane.
pretty sure I casted the Jax Egets game because that was one of the big things that I was thinking of, where I did see Jax support be brought back at EMEA Masters. I was like, hang on, guys, I've seen this before. Egets played the Jax in support on Blue Whites. But yeah, no, sorry, miscommunication there. I do remember the Egets Jax game. Obviously, I thought you meant MKR. I was like, what? Why would MKR play it?
That would definitely be a big switch up, because they like a lot of names, right? Varus, Ezreal, Jinx. Just to throw in a Jax, they would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, Senna Jax, job done. That level 3 all-in would be absolutely mental. Level 2 even could be really mental, right? Similar to having Yasuo in the bot lane. Yasuo bot lane works really well because it's really good into those auto attackers. You can do a similar thing with Jax. I could see how it could work.
Is Nyla not just like the better version of that though?
Nyla's really good, but a lot of AD carries out of practice. I saw that. Did you see that Nyla Zillion swap scenario in LCK?
No. Educate me.
So then you had Nyla laning with the top laner, and you had Zillion lane with mid, and then catch bot side solo, and you basically have double XP bonuses happening on both sides on this swap. So it was a 2-2-1 swap, which is a really interesting opener that I've been looking at a bit now. I actually think it might end up being standardized, but I need to think about it more.
That is some serious, like, I feel like that's one of them ones where you see that get popular for a week, right? Immediately nerfs that. Like it's very similar energy to when, like there was the whole meta of like mid goes around with jungle and they do the power farming thing. And then that got stopped pretty quickly as well.
I feel like Riot have never fundamentally addressed right? And I don't think they either do understand it. I think honestly the most likely scenario is that Riot does understand what makes swaps good, but they realize they have to completely change the game to a move swap, so they just put placebo nerfs every time, and they just hope no one notices they can still swap viably. The only way for them to make swaps unviable would be to make top lane completely useless. That's the thing. If top lane is ever strong, swaps are viable. That's just always going to be the case. It's not about the champions, it's about the neutral objectives on top side. Right? The reason that we ended up with this 1-1-2 split is because there was no objective top side until 20 minutes, but there was the Drake on bot. So you always wanted to have your priority on bot. So you stuffed your 2 players on bot lane, and the enemy ended up realizing, well, we need to stuff 2 players on bot lane, and we're going to lose every single Drake. And that's how he ended up with this. So when you add the grubs and you add the Herald, then you are just asking for lane swaps on top side. You are asking for it. It's inevitably going to happen because now we do want priority on top side earlier, right? So the only way to stop that is to make top completely useless, in which case top lane becomes a dumping ground for champions that will be useful later. But that will be really bad for top laners, so we do need to make top side useful. So there's a delicate balance there. Don't
Yep.
think they've ever properly figured it out. This is the opener where you'd like to see Leona picked on the other side. The Powerpuff Girls have been banned out by Blue Whites. Shout outs to them.
That's actually a pretty fair description there. Zeri, Gwen, and
That's
Vi
actually-
all gone.
Yeah.
And we're going to see the Senna, the Seraphine, and the Smolder taking away. A little bit of a synergy there from Rich Gang. But
Yeah.
Misfortune, it's classic veteran. Like, could we have not seen this coming? Like, I feel like everyone is playing Misfortune right now.
I mean, Braum would be the classic thing to do here. The problem with Braum is it's really, really easy to counter it in a completely different way. So I do still prefer Leona into stuff like the Misfortune over the Braum. If you want to do Braum, you're going to have to go for it really, really last pick. So see what they do. Yasuo is also immediately on the table whenever I see a Misfortune. Stuff like this. That is probably the lethality Varus we were talking about, but we don't know which role it will go into yet. Obviously, the Lilia leaves us open for a mid lane Varus. And in terms of the Powerpuff Girls, my official Powerpuff Girls is Vi, Ari, Zeri. Ridiculously synergistic composition and one of each color, and it's also just funny.
Yeah, well, we might be getting a little bit of a different flavor here. Zyra's going to be locked in, a pick that I don't see super often, but you know what? I'm here for it, and the Corki going to be locked in as well. And I said about Slices Lilia, it has been locked in, so definitely got a lot to see there. And Zed, I feel like this is way too much of a hover, because Zed, when this team has played it, they have played it in both mid and jungle, but I just don't believe right now they're picking it.
It's a classic Corki counter. It's a really classic Corki counter we just haven't seen done very much, but it will be the Jace instead, which is also a decent pick into the now lower range Corki. Remember, it's now a mid-range assassin pick. Instead, they're going for the match of the Jace rather than with the Zed. But yeah, back in the day, Zed was the classic Corki counter. We just haven't seen very much of it recently. I do remember in one of the IEMs, actually, Featherden doing Grasp Corki into, I actually think it was Fate Zed, to try to survive out that lane. Didn't work too well.
Sometimes you just can't avoid the matchup, but it's not going to be today. We are going to see, though, a couple more bans coming through, the Ornn being targeted there. So now that we obviously know that it's going to be the Varus, does your support priority change? Like, are you expecting Blue Whites now to ban away that Braum, or do you still feel like Leona is just the premier pick?
I mean, with Zyra being picked as well, Leona's really good at sniping these low mobility picks, and Zyra is a classic giga squishy low mobility pick that can get sniped with that Leona R. No, I avoid that compared to the ability of Leona being picked on the next rotation. But RG may still be thinking about going to 5th pick and trying to get the Braum instead of the Leona, without the possibility of an chance of being picked into it. But what a squishy comp Blue Whites has that I think is uniquely vulnerable into that Leona. With the Alistar ban, I definitely think they're intending to pick Leona on 4th. So let's see what Blue Whites respond with. If they ban the Leona, then you might want to go for 5th. They went for the Cassante ban. But now you just go Leona and you can't pick top. In which case the Cassante ban acts against Blue White. God, no support should be allowed to talk in draft. Oh man! That's really...
You're not a fan of the role, then. That's what I'm getting.
I was so glad in the EMEA Master Final when Rel lost every single game, and every support should be punished at such high role. The Leona's definitely play here. Blue Whites are looking to now somewhat take it away. Yeah, good for them. I mean, they only realistically get to sight the Varus, but technically both Lilia and the Jace are vulnerable into the Leona as well, just not as vulnerable as the Zyra and MF are. You do now have the option to... You don't even have the option to go Braum because you went well. So interesting to see what the last pick is going to be from RG. I would anticipate that they would just go for an AD carry and potentially go for like Varus top, but we'll see, because especially if you're going to the Renekton, right? I think that's really, really viable. Technically Quinn is viable, but I wouldn't
put it past typical. They have played the Vayne top, so definitely happy to play an ADC.
Oh yeah, Vayne works there. Yeah, Vayne top works there. It does. You have a very squishy composition than MF though. That's a boring pick. Yeah. But it's going to be a boring pick played interestingly, right? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we talked about the Gnar. Yeah, so that's the more classic one. They were thinking they'd be way too squishy if they go for the Vayne, so they go for the Gnar. Have a kind of like a halfway house there. I think RG were really solidified to go for a really, really good last 2 picks on the draft there, but I think Blue Whites did pip them there. The Zyra is sort of safe. You are looking for the Gnar or the Rel to get some kind of really, really strong flank angle in towards the Zyra. Catch Zyra really off guard. That's intuitive for the Leona to do. It's harder for RG to do with the composition they have. Or maybe Karosh and Varus just go so hand that they're able to half health both the MF and the Zyra from 50 million miles away, because they are both on essentially siege poke champions, right? And this is a big thing. The bowling ball, the Jace QE, and the Varus WQs, those are really long range, really, really difficult to maneuver around as the Zyra MF. They're like, this is enough. We don't need the Leona snipes for it. That might even be overkill. So instead, going to make sure we have this good 4-1 that we can do along with our siege. It's a classic. I think there are really good win conditions on both sides to do.
I am a little bit surprised by the Zyra still. I'll be honest, because I do think the pick is strong, but it's kind of like that was a couple of months ago, right? Nowadays, I'm seeing a lot more Vi, a lot more Xin Zhao, the early game 80s, Jarvan making a big resurgence as well. We're also seeing the Lilia obviously being picked up. So yeah, I am a little bit surprised that Zyra was the lock-in, especially given how dangerous it could be for them with no mobility against this sniper comp. But you know what? With the team comp, with the Leona, with the Misfortune, the wombo combo is there, and I definitely do understand it.
Yep, I'm worried about the potential for the Leona snipe into a straight MFR, right? Like, unless you are able to poke out MF and Zyra first, if they're ever able to catch you, I think you do just get annihilated. So you have team on the left just being like, okay, they'll make a mistake. We just have to avoid everything before they make that mistake. And if we avoid everything and they make a mistake, we all in. And then team on the right is the one that has the agency and has to be like, okay, let's just land our skill shots for the love of God. And if we land our skill shots, we should be safe as long as we don't get completely utterly blown up beforehand. I agree with you on the Zyra. I think Zyra is kind of old now. I think we are shifting away from these AP junglers. I don't think they're as strong as they were, but they did manage to bypass one of the scarier potential options for the draft.
Now, the one polarizing part of these two teams that I noticed when I was kind of looking up and kind of seeing these teams play throughout the season is the early game, right? Blue Whites categorically did not have good early games in the NLC Div 1, right? They were down a lot of gold at 15 minutes most of the time. But Rich Gang were very, very prominent in that early game. They were often building leads in lane. They were often getting solo kills. They were often making big plays around Slice as well. And I do feel like this is the big pivotal moment for me, how these two teams are going to play. And do you feel like Rich Gang have drafted themselves enough early game that they can start to just put the pressure onto Blue Whites early?
I mean, that's the thing that Rel gives you. Is Rel gives you really good control level 1, right? Rel gives you really good control level 1. Jace has really good control level 1. It's one of the strongest level 1 champions in the game. They do have a really strong level 1 champion. So that is a huge advantage they have. Will be interesting to see how far they're able to push it. They technically are coming in with 3 winning lanes. Like, I would favor Rich Gang were I a betting man.
Okay.
And, you know, if you think about it, you know, when you predict publicly, you are essentially #gambling. So there you go.
Have we predicted the series yet? I don't think we have.
I don't. I mean, that's up to the producer.
Are you down to make a prediction here and now before we get into game 1?
Well, this game for sure, I think, goes the way of Rich Gang. Can they see the loading? Oh. It's going to go
back to us. We are
and
back
now.
on stream. And then we might be back straight into game. Okay, we're here.
Cool. We are in, guys. We are in.
Okay, I'm going to give a bold 3-1 Rich Gang. That's what I'm saying, veteran.
3-1 Rich Gang overall. I mean, I'll definitely say that this game straight up goes towards Rich Gang, and that does feel like a really cohesive draft they have there. Those last two picks though are kind of haunting me, right? But yeah, I guess we'll see.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get into this one. Obviously, so far, it's nothing crazy to start off. You know, just people setting up. We are seeing the Zyra though on the bot side. Lilia going to be starting on the top side, so a little bit different navigation. Obviously, the Renekton, I do understand for Yonez playing up towards Veloxa, right? Could potentially get a lot of wins over that. But as we said, Mirai, Karosh, that's the big danger men for Rich Gang. Yeah.
Now that the producer, who's honestly been trying to stop talking to my ears, I can hear everything he's saying. That bot side, well, I love the producer, by the way. Great. I'm going to say great person. Good person. There you go. Rel, all the way up there. MF, Leona are going to struggle to get straight up into the lane. Varus. Oh, wait, hang on. Top side as well, already popping. So Nar should be able to get the Pio. Bot side's pretty much secured Pio on the first wave. They might be pushing way too hard, by the way. You don't want to go for a second wave flash here, guys. Let's go for the first wave flash. think they're anticipating with too much of a... He gets this aggressive, guys. No one's that aggressive. And Lilia does seem to be favouring going a heavy bot top. Try to play against this Renekton. Try to play for that Nard. Potentially play for any kind of an early play on top side. Zyra is matching. So Zyra's matching away... Well, Zyra doesn't really have a way to play in towards T at all right now. So just wants to get that done as fast as humanly possible. Corki, with that mid player, going to make sure he gets more guaranteed packing on the Lilia because of the lack of an early trade. Due to that, they don't really know exactly where Lilia is starting right now. It was a really fast crash on bot, so that does diminish the amount of trade potential that RG can do. Instead, they ward in case Zyra was thinking, I'll do 3-camp spot and try to cheese a play there. That was their big worry. I do still think you go for third wave crash, because if Zyra shows up bot, jungle is completely over. Lilia can just go and play diagonal. You'd have to play through Corki for that, sure, but it is entirely viable to do so. So we'll see. Slightly inefficient bots top by RG, but they do have all of the priority and all of the options early. Yones wants to make something happen really fast. Karosh is technically playing right.
Karosh is going to be rooted up here. This is an early amount of damage, and Karosh is gone. First blood, Yones picking it up early. And no real rebuttal from the Jace, just no opportunity, even flashed veteran.
Yep, Lilia there, not able to clear anywhere near as fast as Zyra was. Zyra so far ahead on that clear. Karosh was leaning topside towards his own jungler, so technically he was trying to do the correct plays there. Lilia going to finish clear in enemy jungle there. Hope I didn't see you drop a ward up there, because you know from where Zyra entered that Zyra finished clear on topside. Note that ward is there. Alright, and now we're just going to see a repetition from both, but with the first advantage coming in from that Zyra. You do have a slow push happening on bot side, so Lilia will be there to escort at the very least, but right now the game plan for RG is to just try to make sure that they can get this bot wave out, and that can be safe and secure by the time Lilia moves top. Technically a play open for Zyra, and Zyra, let's be real, does want this skirmish on bot side, because Zyra knows that she has that amplifying tome over the Lilia.
Slice, they're going to try and walk this one in. Yeah. Knockup does come through from Kansky, but the ticking of the Ignite is a lot. That's going to be first kill onto MKR. And now we get MKR out. Good flash forward. We'll get Mariah another kill, but Zyra is here as well. It's a 2-for-1 so far. And Slice trying to make it all even, but the stun, the damage, it's just too much. Will confirm the Leona kill, but 3 kills taken by Blue Whites.
Yep. So that right there, off of that kill on the mid lane, Zyra knows she wants that fight on bot side. She has no problem matching it whatsoever, because all of that damage potential is on the side of Blue Whites. And now, despite me saying that I favor RG's comp, this is all collapsing on the first 5 waves. Big advantage in the jungle from midsection transfers into a big advantage on that bot side skirmish, into an overall advantage for Blue Whites. They even have the wave moving into them on bot side. Zyra already almost finished on her clear towards topside. She has all the options that she wants. They're only looking to see if she can snipe Karosh. Doesn't have R yet to be able to do so. But Zyra, fully happy to keep taking the fights all the way towards Slice. Hasn't recalled, so more of an even fight scenario here in that invade. Can't quite see how it's going, but looks like Lilia don't want none of that, because Corki is the one pressuring the Jace. RG are just going to use this opportunity, knowing that Zyra's topside, to go more aggressive on bot side, try to get that wave crash, and maybe try to get some element of control on bot side for it, knowing that Zyra is going to finish clear towards top lane. They're able to count the camps that she's done.
Oh, and here we go. Flashback in time to the fight in the bot side, which obviously started off quite well for Rich Gang.
Yep, I mean, you need to make this play really fast, though, because the moment that the Zyra arrives, that big damage boost that she has is going to really show its worth, able to immediately eliminate one of them from the fight, and able to get enough damage down before E gets to dead. Zyra wasn't even touched there, right? Zyra wasn't even touched, and that additional amplifying tone will always give you a little bit of an advantage there, but she was able to push it all the way through. You have to do a really fast play, because once Zyra comes in there and makes the numbers even, you should lose every single time. Then this Zyra's kind of griefing. Zyra finishing her clear topside, will grab those grubs. I am big grubs enjoyer, right? Shout outs to my grubby homies. You know, the Spanish were calling them Kevin when they win the
Yeah, I
gloves
did
first
hear a
appeared.
few remnants of the Kevin calling. I don't really know where Kevin came from. You know, it doesn't even start with a G. You know, I would have thought maybe Gary for Grubs. You know, would have made
just
more
Kevin.
sense, a little bit of alliteration. But
It's just Kevin.
yeah. And which one's Kevin? There's 3 of them.
The first one.
Okay, is he the leader of the group? You know, it's like Kevin and the Grubs.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all Kevin. They have different surnames.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense actually. You know, I guess you couldn't call them the Kevin brothers because obviously not related due to the surnames. But either way, who knows? Maybe they'll all get official names by right at some point. But Kevin definitely the front main man to start it off for the Grubs. But right now in this game, not what I was expecting. You know, 1,500 lead coming in for Blue White. So we are going to see a bit of a skirmish from Pomo onto Karosh here. Quite a bit of damage going to go down. And once again, Yones rearing their head, saying it's definitely not safe for you to ever fight back.
Yep. And I mean, Yones really owning and dominating the map of that, right? But hasn't pressed recall yet. So Lilia gonna get some information on Zyro topside off of that mid play, knows that she has that item advantage. Tables are turned until Zyro moves herself on the map. Sorry. Entirely, and if Zyro moves herself on the map now, you get a free play.
Flash engage, bullet time over the top. That's a lot of damage. Mirai just about surviving, but the solar flare is going to get the work done. He gets with an easy kill, and you talked about the Leonia pick earlier getting those snipes. Well, there's number 1.
Yeah, didn't quite mean it as a full-on execute, but whatever works. Typical though.
Ooh,
Showing the typical Gnar versus Renekton matchup there. Renekton gonna have to move away. Zyra technically going up to match, but if Lilia was to match that match, Lilia would be winning on this. Lilia has an opening to do something somewhere with Zyra still not recalling, but she doesn't have the information that the Zyra has actually skipped her recall so much. Eget's getting directly onto this low mobility, no flash barriers, the full MKRR going down, the NKR if you will, and the Leona snipe to finish off. Bit of the wrong order, but the correct result for Blue Whites. They look to start their journey going back to the NLC.
And so far, not necessarily the game plan that Rich Gang would have gone for, right? Very much not used to being behind in the early stages, and it feels like Slice is really being corralled. You know, I know they're playing the deer, but they are being hunted permanently by Yones, and it doesn't feel like there's much they can really do in these fights, and we're seeing another bot play veteran, but like you said before, it has to be done quickly.
I mean, that item advantage we were talking about as well, like, it's gone, right? That's a full Leandries from this Zyra. Jungle for jungle, as we're about to see, is going to go one particular way. And RG, they realize they don't want none of that. Eget's wants to keep going.
He gets hesitated a little bit here. Now we're going to drop the sort of flare. Good flash from Mirai will get them away. But once again, another positive play for Blue Whites in the bot side. Once again, forcing RG into a bad situation, losing summoners and losing ground.
See, Ezreal would have just pressed E. You know what I mean? That's why you want Nautilus. But here, yeah, you want the Leona, baby. Oh boy, do you want... Alright, that's a free flash every time you are. That's a free death the next time. Good luck to Mirai. I'm pretty sure we're going to see something happen there very, very, very soon. Just in 2 ways' time, Eget's is going to get that R again. I think they should just push this bot advantage on repeat. We'll see if Zyra, having finished the clear to topside and gotten second gloves, will be there for that play, or if they'll use the information of both Lily and Zyra topside to just force a straight 2v2. I anticipate it's probably going to be the latter. Or is Leona just going to carry that advantage through to topside with her?
Ooh, Yone's going to be put to sleep here. Does get the knockup though onto Slice, and here comes Karosh to add a bit of damage.
Is Eget's
versus 2 because Eget's is here, but so is typical. Now going to try and get the chase down. Yones is so low, but can play from
no!
Finally fall down, and Eget's could be next. The last auto clips them, and now Velox are joining, but it's so late. Magnet Storm and the damage raining in will pick up the Renekton, surely, and he goes down. Triple kill to typical veteran, and is this the turning point for Rich Gang?
Yeah, I mean, a really, really big play there, and good gold going on. Let's be real, the guy who is getting the really strong advantages in the individual lanes. MKR getting kind of run down by Mirai there. Mirai landing on the skill shots. Kolosh! That's definitely a kill. My lord, actually, my lord. All right, so suddenly, turns for Rich Gang. everywhere on the map. Sometimes better draft just straight wins, but here, big thing is that Blue Whites do not have that R up on Leona yet. You do have the option to just play this slow. You can contest the grubs without hard all-inning here, without that crucial R from Egets. Egets can slow, but doesn't have the R that would really mess up Lichang's life here. Zyra tries to extend a bit too much, but yeah, ends up getting taken down by Typical, and Typical now is a really easy job for him. Kites away from the Corki, able to isolate each other the target that he's running down, and that's 4 straight kills for the guy that is already getting huge advantages one-on-one in lane. He was, before this point, the only member of RG that was hard winning his lane straight solo. All the other members of RG were getting influenced a large amount by Yonez and losing their lanes. But now, with that bot lane turnaround 2v1, and with that top lane turnaround with Typical moving in, the game has significantly turned for RG, and I still do favor their composition, particularly in mid-late game portions of the game, which we're now accelerating hard towards. And 3 grubs have been denied from Blue Whites. They will not end up with that 6 grubs overall.
A little bit of a pain for them to deal with, but they will get 1 dragon, so they are going to even it all up. Neutrals will be net neutral, net even across the board. And I guess in a way, it's a good thing for Blue Whites, considering how we set up that we thought that Rich Gang were going to come in heavy early on. Now only 800 gold ahead and neutrals even. But how is the rest of the game going to start to play out? Because towers are soon going to start getting a little bit more threatened. Obviously, plating's going to go away in a minute.
Yep, Zyra as well is about to meet a very burst-heavy champion. It's not the one that she sees right now. Karosh sees the opportunity. Misses the initial
misses
QE.
though the shock blast. There's
oh,
the damage coming in, but in Sleep is coming through. The bonk on the head comes over, and Slice needs to try and get out, but Pomo cleans it up.
An insane amount of damage coming out of Jonas before death, and Pomo able to follow up with that double kill. Gonna be able to fix wave off of that, probably just resetting lane here. But Jonas should be really worried about the Jace, but Jace wants to make this a fast play, misses the initial QE, does insert Jonas back in, but they're both caught in the R, caught in the middle of so many plants, and caught in the clutches of Pomo at the same time. And Pomo's shred, that's a lot of damage coming out there in one go. No real chance. The fast plays that RG needs to make are not happening fast enough. That's been a consistent thing this game as Leona finds another snipe, but this time onto the Rel.
Oh, onto the rail, but it doesn't matter because Pomo is here from downtown. Comes a rocket into the back, and it's so simple for Blue Whites in the bot lane as Veloxa having not a very fun time against this Gnar, but in comes Jonas to add a little bit extra flavor to this top lane fight, and it will mean the Typical is going to have to back away.
Yeah, mid-range assassin Corki is well and truly the current meta. So you're seeing that advantage from that double kill being transferred immediately on towards bot side. Yes, the opening was only able to be done onto Kansky on the Rel. Sorry if I'm butchering anyone's name, by the way. But the damage was more than able to come out on towards the Varus and the Rel from the Corki. Insta burst, and now RG transferring their tempo on towards top side really hard and saying, let's abandon that bot lane. What will be will be. Let's get a big advantage top as Typical.
Veloxa needs to be careful. Dodge does manage to avoid the boomerang and will be able to get away. And now Yon is actually turning the tables onto Typical. Will not catch them out with the grasping roots. But the Herald just been done completely by Slice with no sort of worry from the jungle from the side of Blue Whites.
I do like this response by RG though. You are getting decimated on the bot side of the map, so let's just shift everything we have on towards top side. That's where we have the tempo. Let's keep pushing that advantage we have on Typical. We don't need to move up Varus for it. This is where all of our gold is. Let's keep playing around that, and that Herald can be used to try to get a large amount of map control back in towards the game for them. And Lord knows they need it. This has been a very back and forth game. Blue Whites initially with a big lead, RG getting a comeback, Blue Whites getting a comeback, and then RG right now with that play, they do have the ability to shift map control really hard into their favor if they use this Herald properly. So, how they plan to do that? Easy snipe by the Leona. That cleanse versus that Leona R, we know which cooldown is lower. So Egets will be back for that flash in due time.
And it's just even more. To add fuel to your fire earlier about, Rich Gang could have just picked Leona and they would have avoided a lot of this danger and had it themselves. But talking about danger, Typical is going to be the next one in danger as he is no longer Mega, he is Mini, and there's 3 people in the lane. Pomo looking for the kill and will secure it.
Yep, so that is unfortunately the strongest member of RG so far, getting destroyed on bot side, but RG's response, instead of trying to match that, is to hardcore play on these 2 lanes. They drop that Herald in mid, they get that mid tower down, a really crucial tower for a level of control, especially if you want to be shifting stuff on towards tier 2 contests on top side and on bot side of the map. Jace getting top side out and towards reset, stopping his recall. I assume he has an item to stay for, otherwise it would be perfectly synchronized recalls across the board. It looks like Mirai and Jace will both stick around for another wave. Kansky going to go and refresh his wards. He's back down towards 0. And Mirai now happy to go with the recall and Jace synchronizing with it. And then they'll go in towards the next map state. They haven't fixed bot yet. But if they fix bot before Veluxa goes for the recall, they should have a decent map state for the next rotation where you are looking at that drag. We see the pings coming out on towards the drag timing there. Jace hasn't been able to get that recall. He does have teleport. You can burn the teleport if you want to fight for this really, really hard. Let's see what RG try to do.
Dragon going to be spawning very soon, as you said. Right now, mid control. The key for both these 2 teams, it gets, obviously, as we said, with the solar flare up, definitely very dangerous to multiple of the carries. And the poke war now begins. We talked about it earlier on. We haven't seen it utilized yet. But finally, we are starting to see those arrows fly from the Varus and the shock blast hitting.
Yep, and it looks like with that top wave being pushed in and with the bot wave slow pushing in, RG are fully fine to do this. If you pivot off of this into shallow catching mid and hard pushing out bot with that slow push, you will actually have a really, really strong map play. And looks like typical, he wants to do that. So let's see the kind of shadows that he gets. Varus does not have to auto hit the next wave. He can let it come on the tower. Varus is really, really, really good at clearing waves in that particular scenario, and Corki is having to burn the TP to defend that bot tier 1 against the Nas. So suddenly, that TP loss on Jace having to extend top, doesn't matter so much anymore because Corki's had to burn TP himself. Renekton's only just crashing onto that tier 1 on top side. Lilia is shadowing on the Gnar here. Good play so far by RG. If blue-whites want to get back in from that position, they do have to fight.
They're going to ward away Slice, though, with Jonas being in the vicinity. I think they were looking potentially for the setup of the dive. They did throw out the bowling ball, but it did not land, so no sleep will follow. And therefore, I think Rich Gang just decided against it. Again, switching members around the map pretty freely, sending Krosh back onto the top side and picking up the Dragon with relative ease as well. So it's setting themselves that 1 step closer towards Soul Point, which obviously Infernal is going to be a massive ticket to a win.
Yeah, always. And Soul Point itself giving a massive map advantage to the team that's able to get so. So let's see what ends up happening when we get towards that Drake. For now, the big lane subs and TP advantage are going to be a big deal, but oh my god! Homo doing so much damage here. Yeah, sometimes you have HP and sometimes you don't, you know? It is what it is. That is going to mess things up, though, for them, because you've gotten that crash onto tier 2 on bot side, whereas look at top side here. Jace is still fighting. If anything, that's a crash onto a tier 1. He's trying to get a kill onto Renekton here to try to delay blue-white smudge, and it looks like Slice is going to go for it as well. If you do make this kind of hard play, maybe you have an opening to force something really, really hard.
Jonas is there, though. They are trying to give Veluxa very low, but it's not going to be the final kill. So they do finally pick it up. Garrosh, though, now met by 2 more members from blue-white. Slice will put them to sleep to get themselves away, but a 1-for-1 again on that top side. Blue-white's just able to keep the rotations high.
This is a very secure map right now for blue-white, so long as they're able to transfer this into the mid tower going down eventually. But right now, they're really not worried. They are winning on all sides. They do have all of the options for resets on their favor, as that death timer on the Jace goes down on the side of RG. Remember, Jace doesn't even have teleport right now, so that, about as well as it could go, went for blue-whites. Yes, the Renekton is dead, but the Renekton right now, worst case scenario, can just group topside with this MF, and I think really should. I think that's a big extension.
Ooh, MKR with a beautiful flash that gets away from the Gnar. Typical now having to walk away, but Jonas is slowly poking them out. Slice gets a little bit extra damage, but he gets just here to stun them all up and not allow them to run. But the Lilia just a little bit too fast, and Typical able to get out of their grasp. Although Slice going back in might have caused some issues. He gets again locking them down, but Slice over the wall stays alive. Kansky now in the middle of the fight, getting absolutely obliterated as here comes Veluxa, but the Corki's damage is unreal, veteran.
Yep, so they're able to crash on tier 2 top. Varus is going to still pelt on bot, and that is the best response RG can do, is to pelt on bot, is to clear on top, is to clear on mid as well. But it is a response play as BW. They're like, okay, You can get some semblance of tempo now. We're just going to take this Baron, and we're going to run you guys down with that Baron setup, as Jace is like, mate, I'm one of the hardest champions to do that with, and Leona's like, hey, do you remember this thing you could have taken on 4th rotation? Suck.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. They're all very low, but it's not going to make a difference. Slice just cannot get into this fight. Will get a bit of damage on the and should burn him out. Maybe could play this. Maybe could play this. Yonna's going to go aggressive. Will be able to get the stun, and it is going to be too much damage.
Yeah, big maybe. A lot has been gained by RG. They've gotten that tier 2 on bot. They're banging out the tier 2 on mid. They're going to get the tier 2 on mid, but you have to imagine, with this Baron buff, Blue-Whites is going to be able to trade back so much harder. They've given a bit of tempo, but as I always like to say, I'm happy to give up inhibitor on bot lane for a Baron, because you can just respond the same way every time. You run it up those lanes you have deficits on, and you're going to be able to make back as much, if not more, with that Baron buff itself. So I think Blue-White, when this play happens, and you have the TP advantage on bot side and actually towards Varus, always as RG, once again, you have to make a fast play. And whenever RG have to make a fast play, they fail to make a fast play. They always make it far too long and far too extended, and Blue-Whites are always able to eventually capitalize with the rest of their champions. This is the story of the entire game happening on repeat. Nice by Slice to get the Lux at the end there, but it's more of a mull out. It's not going to fundamentally change the map out. As we come back in and we see that mid tower finally going down for Blue-Whites. Bit of an ARAM here, but there are no tier 2s on bot to take. It's just the tier 2 on top side. They haven't prepped the way for it, but wow.
Ooh, typical. Taking so much damage. The stun just gonna finally land a root there as well. And oh man, we talked about the Zyra pick, but Veteran, it is doing a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, Nah had a very after that, it's kind of all started to go downhill in typical fashion. Inhibitor down on mid, tier 2 up on top side. Blue-Whites, they're going to take that Drake as an exit goal, reset, and then take another pass at that tier 2 top. But they have more than made up for the structures that they lost to get that Baron in the first place, as we were talking about. So that's going to be soul point for RG. Sorry. Soul point denied on the side of RG. First Infernal for Blue-Whites, and now reset into try to play top and possibly mid with a flanking unit. Let's see what Blue-Whites are able to do. As I note that the structures on all sides of Blue-Whites now have bounties on them that RG could pick up if they were to give up tempo at any point. But it's really significant to show that RG are really in a position where they need to make comeback, which makes this grouping they're doing topside make sense. Is it good? No, they should have technically matched the resets on Blue-Whites. But Blue-Whites come up here with a numbers disadvantage. They can get assaulted on by the RG engaged there. They're not falling for it, of course. They're going to play this slow. They're going to play this by the book. And so RG's brush setup on top side is not going to quite work out.
Recalling just as it could have maybe worked as well. The Renekton finally making their way up to the top side, but there will be no one found from RG's side to match that. And Blue-White's now setting their own trap in the jungle. So are Rich Gang going to be able to avoid it as easily as it was avoided of theirs? But right now, Pomo is just absolutely so far ahead. Veteran 707, level 17 in the game, by the way, 3 levels ahead of anyone on Rich Gang, and already at 3 items, now 4 items as they complete the eye edge as well. It's just not looking good for Rich Gang, as Blue-Whites are just completely wallet diffing them as they are up a total of 6,000 gold.
6,000 gold is very significant. All tier 2s being down now. Now let's see which champion they decide is worthy of that mid lane open inhibitor. MF and Renekton both coming out on the map. Renekton would be my choice for it. Corki looking to try to come back out on the map on the bot side. Doesn't want to do so until MF is showing. Doesn't want to do so until Leona's back on the map. As you do. Does have enough information to know that he can show now from this particular position, as long as he's willing to fight the Gnar, and he clearly is. Jace can push out top all he likes. If he stays there, it's going to be really easy for Blue-Whites to capitalize on by just maintaining this push on the mid and on the bot. But gotta be with you, J-Will. This feels to me like we are just setting up the end game here, right? We're setting up the big end game push. We want to just get our flanking units on mid. We want to make sure that we secure this inhibitor on bot side, and that will make the second Baron so simple for Blue-Whites to get. They're going really, really hard, and they don't necessarily have their flanking unit up yet, but look at the damage that's coming down from blue-whites here.
Oh, the tower is not long for that world. Kansky also taking so much damage off of just a tiny bit of rockets and a few plants. You know, who would have thought it would be so dangerous? But hey, maybe if you play plants as zombies. But right now, they are setting up for that second inhib. They're looking for this one to be taken down, as you said, to make the Baron that even a bit easier. 58 seconds before the Baron does spawn, and a sleep is utilized here by the Lilia. But I don't know if this is the play that you want if you're Rich Gang.
Yeah, I mean, blue-white's moving really, really far back here. That mid inhibitor's still down. Open inhibitor on bot. That ward, I feel like, is going to come back.
Starting to turn, trying to buy some time, but it's not slowing them down at all, really. Stranglethorns will make Slice have to repath a little bit, but again, blue-whites are being completely ran down here. Pomo has enough, turns around, bullet time over the top. MKR picks up the kill with the assistance of Pomo, but now they're looking for more. Rich Gang are still chasing them back, but they just cannot get into range.
Yep. Not able to quite close it, and their base is about to be threatened by super minions on the mid section. Enough wards out as well for blue-whites to be able to start playing really, really hard towards that bot inhibitor, but it looks like they are intending to play really hard, judging by those pings, for that Baron with that topside slow push. Really, really good scenario to start going for it. No Drake coming up for another minute. You could easily transition off of this Baron into playing that bot side inhibitor with the Drake as the big exit objective. They're able to make a catch at any point here. You could just be looking at a game closing set of plays, given the double teleport from Corki and Renekton.
And also, which do you fight for if you're Rich King? Do you give over the Baron? Do you fight for the Dragon? Do you maybe try and take the fight during the... Like, you know, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered here as to what would be optimal, because I feel like if they get the Baron, they give it over and they don't kill anyone from blue-whites, well, the game will just end pretty soon, as they are trying to set up a little bit of poke. We talked about it early on. It hasn't really been utilized after that third Dragon. We haven't really seen them set up the Varus or set up the Jace in that poke position, as we are finally starting to see it take effect, as John is taking quite a bit of damage, and Typical really forcing them back. Stranglethorns having to be utilized in defense.
Yep, so much happening in this midsection here. Everybody's showing to either side. No one having any semblance of playing slow or any kind of strategy there. RG, theoretically, should not be as bothered if blue-whites get on Baron first, so long as they don't get caught out. Corki poke going to make Varus a little bit more vulnerable here, but remember, trying to do Baron on blue side versus Varus versus Jace is a nightmare scenario. That ultimate goes wide from Mirai. They're not able to find it, but still has all of the pokes sufficient to make a nightmare scenario for blue-whites if blue-whites do try to go for the Baron. They're going to just sneak out that Drake. That is now soul point for blue-whites. But if that ends up becoming a factor and this game goes on for another 5 minutes, I feel like RG should be really commended. This is the red side Varus here. Eget's trying to do a lot of pressure. Blue-whites are like, we can't technically do this against so much poke. Let's try to find engage. They're not quite finding it. You're seeing a lot of the strength of the RG composition come out here. Blocks are quite low. Pomo dropping half HP. Slice going in. TP coming in.
Slice. Get
Mega Gnar.
Sleep. TP. Typical's here. Mega Gnar.
Oh!
Blocks are super low. Goes down. That's one. They're looking for more. But Ione's on the back doing so much damage with Pomo. Pomo's the danger man. You need to kill the Corki. And they are keeping them at bay. They cannot walk up. Blue-whites have
Walk up
lost
on
the
mid.
fight. 3 members down. And now they're starting
Jason's
to search
TP.
mid. Rich Gang could open up the game.
Yep. Jace has TP as well. Typical moving up, getting as much damage as possible. You have to think the moment that Corki and Zyra zoom out of base, they're going to be able to insta-kill him. Let's see if they do decide to keep going here or if they just retreat off this. They do retreat despite the 20-second death timers on everybody. They're happy to get that inhib up. No inhibs are down for Rich Gang. Rich Gang have got an inhib down for blue-whites, but all of theirs are back up. BW moving up, get flanked from by this Mega Gnar, but you're also seeing the amount of damage on the Lux, the amount of damage on Pomo. That is because of RG's massive poke position here. I get to immediate execute there. He gets dropping HP insanely fast and Typical, just barely living off to the side, flashing to dodge Jonas to stay alive there. And Kurash, he'll recall, trust his teammates to get that inhibitor, to get that turret, but had the teleport in case they truly did need him. But by zoning the Zyra off towards the top side alongside the Corki, they guaranteed that they had the time to get that inhibitor. Now it's a case of defending your own inhibitors. As blue-whites try to start setting up double aggression play, Corki isn't able to threaten the inhibitor on bot side yet. Looks like he might not. The moment he shows up on this ward, I think the decision-making becomes really, really easy for Rich Gang. Yep.
And
he's shown up on the ward.
can they replicate it though, Veteran? Because they had to use Flash for Slice, they had to use Flash for Gnar, they had to use the TP. It was a lot invested into that one play. And obviously, Blue Whites, they now are aware what could happen, right? They're going to be very much aware of the Flash timer for Slice. And at the moment, they don't have to worry about that same play occurring unless we see an insane bowling ball, a full strike from the Lilia.
Yep, so really big AMM here. Corki not dedicated to trying to set up a double aggression play against RG. So RG, the game becomes really easy. If they see Blue Whites, they need to just unleash their really low cooldown poke. Pomo almost down to half HP already off of that. Jace and Varus, they hit like trucks right now. Varus, we were talking about being a big potential play. Pomo almost dead just off this poke. Typical, buddy. Come on, mate, man. You gotta put one up for the team here, mate. Come on, man. Like, your laning defense really good. No, Lilia!
Oh, Slice in trouble. Does get knocked up, but not in bullet time range. Was able to stay alive, and he gets caught in a little bit of a weird situation.
Oh, no!
But in goes Kansky.
Look at the HP! They've won!
Hitting. The damage is there. Rich Gang are taking the fight. Pomo, the last one alive. And it's 4 members of Rich Gang looking to close the game.
Yeah, Pomo actually recalled and TP'd back in.
Slow
He's going
to
for
Pomo,
it.
the damage is there.
Oh!
The slide comes through from Pomo, the rockets are massive. Mariah looking for the arrow. Can they become No, they can. Pomo with the damage, but Typical and Slice in the base. The recall coming in 7 seconds. Do they go for a Veteran? They do not. They turn around and run home.
No, going so hard on that. If they had both the Varus and the Jace up, they could just end the game instead of forcing Corki to defend from a turret there and play with their frontliners. They separate away from their frontline, and Corki's like, buddy, I'm a burst champion now. Do you really want to do this? And take them out of the game. Damn. Oh man, RG had better win this game, or that one was going to absolutely. There. 2 champions that they suddenly forget to get Slice, moves that typically moves up with the wave, and now it's Monster here along with Mirai. The Monster, buddy, if you're on that level of HP, you are not a frontline anymore. The Lilia then moves away, and the Varus doesn't have any additional protection here. There's no CC there for Corki to worry about. He knows he will outburst Varus at every point. Varus relies entirely on his spacing here to get out all of that immense poke. So Corki's like, buddy, I'm just going to close the gap here. And even if we go 1-for-1, I know you guys can't. And so I think decision there for Varus, just join him with the rest of his team and move up with the wave, could have easily ended the game for them.
The poke still raining in. Pomo taking half the HP. Veloxer as well. And right now, Rich Gang are starting to chase down. He gets the Leona, obviously quite tanky, but definitely an important member to remove from the fight. Yones not able to start landing these grassing roots, not able to get the Strangle Thorns in. We look at the top side. The Gnar is just pushing.
Yeah, this is not sold for RG either. You could afford to give up this Drake if it opens up the base. I think that's a completely worthwhile trade, while at the same time, you can play slow around the Drake and try to poke. I think they should have maybe gone more all in on this top side play, grab 2 inhibitors, but instead they're going all in on Blue Whites. They smell blood in the water. E gets us separated from the rest of the team. I think he gets us going down.
He's trying to get away, trying to buy time, but how much time can you buy? The Baron is up, the support is dead, the engage has been removed, and Blue Whites now have a much tougher time at even getting into a fight, and we've already discovered how much the poke is doing from Rich Gang. So Baron up, the setting is there, Pomo going aggressive to try and dissuade them. Infernal Soul, though, has been picked up from Blue White, so an extra bit of damage every single time.
It's not to say damage is the problem, though. It is the spacing, it's the poke, it's the distance,
it's
the fact that one of them is dead. MF!
Pomo is down! The Corki is gone!
Typical!
MKR in a huge problem, gets stunned up,
Cleanse down.
Avoids the corruptions, but here's Garrosh, the hammer's
Burst!
down. Yona's in trouble, flashes over the wall, and once again, Rich Gang find another successful fight.
A lot of damage coming out, though, with that Infernal Soul. 2 free members really just one set of rotations away from dying. But that TP coming out of Jace now, it looks like they're intending to just hard push up with this. It's 3v3 on this until the well appears. Let's see if
no
they're able
Pomo,
to get this
no
poke
misfortune. Serious lack of damage. They're going to go for the inhib. Should be able to take this one easily, but do they go for more?
Typical, hello, buddy. Okay.
Typical, getting caught out. This is dangerous water.
They get the Siren, no!
God, the Varus. Will they get Yones?
They do!
Typical's alive! They got the kill! That's 2 down, but 3 seconds, 7 seconds on Pomo, 10 seconds on MKR. They've taken out the jungler. Is this the Baron time for Rich Gang?
Yeah, the pings from Rich Gang do indicate what their brain is thinking. Let's all go straight for this Baron. Typical, not even regenning for HP, not going base to regen for HP here. Looks like he just wants to help his buddies out on this Baron here, and it's not going to be contested. The MF opens on bot, Corki opens on towards that red buff. They have accepted that Baron is going on towards Rich Gang. I said if Rich Gang was able to survive the next 5 minutes at about 29 minutes, I'd be very impressed. But at 36 minutes, Rich Gang are getting the third Baron of the game, the first Baron for themselves. They are back in this. They have inhibitor down. That top side, you have to think, is going to be Rich Gang's next big objective.
It seemed formulaic, it seemed almost over, but right now Rich Gang are finding fight after fight, and this was another one that went their way.
One more that goes their way, but look at the amount of damage they get. Doing typical. They can finally burst that MKR cleanse. The Varus goes completely wide. Horus is able to get on top. Look how much damage they take trying to get him, though. Damage from Jonas. Damage from the whole team with the Infernal Soul there. So Rich Gang not quite able to close again, and this was a heart-stopping moment. You think Typical's just going to go down like he has been ever since the late game kind of opened up and gets engaged by Getty, but not on the Mega Gnar yet. But he's able to get the stacks up, he's able to get the Mega Gnar HP up, and Jonas is able to fight when he uses that stopwatch, allowing for a grouping by Rich Gang. Veloxa, he doesn't have displacement, all he has is one singular point-and-click stun. That's not going to do anything there, so Veloxa just has to stare as all of this happens, and that top side that we were talking about is the target for Rich Gang here. We don't have we don't have Elder Dragon for another 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Pomo going aggressive. Typical here, going to have to back away. Half HP lost, but the tower is going to be traded for it. So once again, the objective secured, but now Rich Gang in trouble here. Going to have to use corruption. Veloxa in trouble. Kansky going to go down though. First he gets moving forward. There's the start. Gets sliced, and now Pomo can move forward freely. Going into the base. Typical trying to push the waves in, but
he's down.
Pomo is dead. MKR now running back towards the base, but Veloxa on the flank for Typical. Needs to be careful. The mini are still whittling away the health bars. Yones not landing the root, and this could be a massive spell missing now. Typical walking them in the base. Mirai and Karosh both have a lot of pokes still in their vicinity, but they are just waiting for the waves to crash.
Corki, the big carry of Blue Whites, is down. Does that give Rich Gang the confidence to try to end the game? Here it does!
They kill them. One more down. Only two left under the towers. The poke is still strong, but Yones with the Stranglethorn. So much damage onto Karosh. Veloxa trying to buy time and space, but
he gets him!
The arrows land.
They've
the
won!
Towers down. The Nexus is open, and Rich Gang looking to end the game. They take it home. Game one of a best of 5 goes to Rich Gang.
It's 39 minutes. Gold is 77k a piece. But only one gang knows how to swing rich here, boys, in the late game.
That's game 1, veteran.
Yes.
That's game 1. We could have 4 more games like that, veteran. It looked slow. It looked formulaic. It looked simple. It looked done. Blue Whites had it. They had to just dot the I's and cross the T's. But instead, Rich Gang, they grab the paper, they scrumple it up, they throw it in the bin and say, nah, it's my homework now.
Yeah, I mean, I love to see it. I love to see those comebacks. I love to see those back and forths. And I love to see that when I told everyone to bet on Rich Gang, that they did not get completely disappointed. Shout outs to the chat right there. That's why about the Rich Gang, you saw the power of that Barris and of that poke composition coming in later, though, right? They weren't good when they needed to do these fast plays, but when it came to these A-runs, when it came to these staring contests, really saw the power of that Jace Varus Lilia coming in hot. And, you know, I do have to think, did seem to get a little bit too feisty there, a little bit too all in, did start separating. They were able to drag out a lot of these engages, disengage, re-engage, disengage, re-engage, and they were able to win a lot of these fights slow as we got late into the game. But my God, man, both these teams contesting each other over and over and over again. Yeah, I think maybe with like a little bit of a different top lane pick, maybe something else, maybe we could see an entirely different result transpire here. What a game 1. I'm looking forward to game 2, 3, and hopefully 4.
Game 1 done. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we will be loading up game number 2. What a way to kick it off, and we're sure that it's going to stay like this the whole series, so make sure you don't go anywhere. And we are back once again, ready for game 2. I'm not going to lie, the bar has been set high, veteran. The game 1 energy was crazy. I thought it was going to be over, right? I'll be real. When Blue Whites took the inhib, I thought, okay, we're going to see the bottom inhib taken. We're going to see Baron, like you said. They're going to end the game. It's going to be a little bit sad because Rich Gang didn't really show up. And then, boom, team fight happens. Rich Gang are here. They turned it all around, and Blue Whites just couldn't respond.
Yep, on the second set of rotations, when you saw the Corki move from that bot push in towards the ARAM, instead of just trying to set up this like double play where you have to choose between your bot inhibitor or the Baron, that's about the point where you knew Rich Gang actually did have a shot here, because in that grouping, now you're just poking out Varus, Jace. If nothing happens, the guys with the poke should be winning there. And this is the big thing we were worried about, right? Will these guys get poked out before they all in? When they group like that and you're not seeing them going all in all the time, you are seeing that advantage start to come out, right? So let's see the kind of compositions we get again. It does seem like both teams are going to play to it. Let's bear in mind, this will probably be more grouped than we are otherwise expecting. And if you bear that in mind, it will give us more of an idea of which kind of team is going to win out. So I'm very interested in seeing what happens.
Yeah, and I feel like we saw a lot from the teams as well that I wasn't necessarily expecting, right? I think bringing back the old roster for Blue Whites seemed to be a lot more effective, right? I have to say it straight off the rip. Much better in the early game, weren't getting over a lot of plays. They were very much playing well as a team, especially in the mid game. They were getting things done, and it looked a lot better from what I'd seen in Div 1. Rich Gang coming in swinging, but weren't able to get those fast players off, like you said, which meant that they could never gain that early lead. So I feel like we got to see Blue Whites able to find a lead, and we also saw Rich Gang playing from behind, which is definitely the bits that we were, I guess, kind of musing over whether that would actually be possible in these series.
I mean, this game seems, it's very difficult to split this game into like those kinds of 3 points though, because I also feel like early game it was very back and forth. Blue Whites got the lead, then RG got the lead back with that top side play, the skirmish where Typical got 3 kills, and the bot side comeback play with Varus and Jace TPing, and they really got a good state there. And then when the turnaround happened again with the MF all in on bot side, Rich Gang just play really hard for the Herald. So Blue Whites, they get it back, but then Rich Gang, they get that map back with that Herald on the mid section as well. I feel like at every single point, no matter which team had an advantage, they were 3-4 minutes away from losing that advantage all over again every time. Really good dance and set of responses until we get towards that ARAM later on. The ARAM equalizes all, and then it becomes all about those compositions. But I really liked everything before that mega late game scenario where we were just seeing this really big trading battle happening on all sides. Neither side wanted to go passively into the night here. That's the exact kind of thing you want, because teams are looking at this not just for which team is going to be joining the NLC, which org is going to be moving in, but what can these players do? When you have that much commotion happening on the map, you know the circumstances that these players are showing up and that they're not showing up. It is a show match as much as it is a promotion relegation tournament for each individual player. And when the games are this chaotic, each player is able to show their stuff.
Yeah, I have to say, Stand Up Pomo, really the name that comes to my head for Blue Whites, right? The Corki was so close to turning this one back around. Like those rockets, the autos, the shred, it was just so much. And as we said, right, you said it, if Rich Gang didn't win that game after that play where they did end up going Rel and Varus versus the Corki, it would have been a huge sad moment for them, but Pomo in that moment was able just to be confident, able to step forward and get it done. Now we are going to be going into draft number 2. The same sides have been chosen. Blue White sticking onto that blue side, and I do wonder if there's any differences in the draft. Maybe a couple of new bands, maybe the Varus might be taken away. Maybe.
Looks like the Powerpuff Girls are going to get removed again. The modified power, like Gwen is like a sub. It's really odd. No one's ready for that yet. Seraph. They're just all gonna get banned. Ban Lulu while you're at it, you may as well. Seraphine off Ashe Seraphine, one of the classic combos on this current patch. We're also seeing some Seraphine. So when it comes to Blue Whites in the regular split, they were really big fans of those kinds of compositions where you're overloading on shields and on healing. So I do wonder how much of this is scouting off of that, or how much of this is off like, well, if anyone's going to be playing this, it's going to be Egats. The Senna definitely I associate heavily with the kind of things Blue White's are doing, and that eventually Ruddy would end up doing as well. And it looks like the last Powerpuff Girl is not going to be removed. The Lilia That's what they think was a really huge issue. They weren't able to deal with the bowling balls from the Lilia coming in over and over again, and the Zyra is going to be really. The Zyra is going to be moved in kind by RG. Apparently, those early game situations where the Zyra was able to head a bit too much of a nightmare. But Vi is up. Let's see if Slice really does value the Vi, love Arcane, as much as they can.
Yeah, the Vi completely open. A little bit surprised that we did see the Zyra ban. I understand the Lilia, though. I said going into this one, Slice on that champion, it's just a dangerous game to play. You know, it's been their strongest champion throughout playoffs. It's looked good in most scenarios. It looked good in that game as well. And taking it away does seem to help. The Varus, though, coming back onto the Rift, I wouldn't be too surprised. You know, it's got so much priority everywhere around the world. And why not here once again?
Have we woken up to the Leona, though? That is going to be the Vi from Arcane being locked in. Have we woken up to the priority of this Leona? That's what I am wondering. Because, oh, no, it's not. It's the Viego. You were asking me a question. I wonder, in the pregame, I wonder if that question was because you'd heard something about potential picks here, because it would be a good pick in these two if it gets bothered. I'll explain it if it does. The show's going to tell you had heard possibilities there. It looks like Blue-Whites, they want Vi from Arcane for themselves. With the Viego there, I do think you are looking at Leona prio still. Leona on both sides is pretty good, but they might not want to give RG the excuse to go to Braum in towards the MF super early. So it always made sense for Blue-Whites to be holding off on that Leona pick. The Kennen, though, really good against low mobility champions, ever able to get the flank off from side. That Varus is going to have to burn flash, going to have to burn cleanse, going to have to burn a lot, and really good to follow the Vi. Big wombo combo, fairly heavy on the dive composition for Blue-White so far.
Yeah, Viego being picked up isn't the most surprising, right? I feel like Slice has played most junglers, but does like the Viego, does like the Gwen as well, but obviously Gwen is permanently banned. The Lilia also being a top pick too. So yeah, not super surprised by the Viego. Was a little bit surprised by the Kennen. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting it this early. Not the pick itself, but just the priority as the Renekton is being hovered. And oh, actually no, it's locked in. It's locked in and we're on balance.
Yeah, they locked in the Renekton in towards the Kennen. I do wonder if we're going to see a swap scenario then against that Kennen. Probably not in the 2-2-1 Korean way that we were talking about earlier. Probably in much more of a regular 2-1-1 scenario here. We're going to go with the Renekton side of things. Otherwise, doing straight lane Renekton to Kennen feels very poor to me, to be honest, from RG, and not a good use of red side. But Blue-Whites, they're the ones that want blue. Maybe they know that the counter picks aren't that good in towards Kennen. Indeed, I am trying to think of one that typical normally plays that would be good in towards Kennen here.
I'm trying to think
the other
if
Powerpuff Girls, so I'm just lamenting that they are all kind of. I mean, Via's actually been picked, but all the Powerpuff Girls are represented.
I'm just speculating if there's a world where Renekton could end up mid here, because like Korosh is not a stranger to odd picks, right? So maybe they get a little bit of usage out of that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm cooking too much. Maybe it's just simply going to be the Renekton in the top. We have seen typical play a lot, and maybe they just feel very confident.
Even if you get ADC or support picked out next, you would still be able to do that. Because both Renekton and Varus can be played on the top side. A bit less so Varus with the lethality, but still fundamentally can be played towards top. Could be their picking towards the Kennen straight up. LeBlanc now one ban missing from RG. Do we know why that is?
I'm not aware of any reason.
It is less good this game, but Leona is still viable for RG at this point in the draft. Last game it was really, really good. Because you had the Zyra as well, whereas the Vi is not as threatened by the Leona, whereas in the previous game, both Zyra and MF were heavily threatened. This will be the Rakan coming in from Blue-Whites. Rakan into Leona normally means that supports assume that they are in a meta where the Rakan can tank the Leona CC and then re-engage. That is typically the play. Nice joke. We don't currently have... So it was apparently a missed ban by RG, straight up. So yeah, that was just, they just missed their chance there. Smolder. So Smolder is a triple flex right now, can be played in the mid. Haven't seen it done in mid, but this would be, I mean, if you're ever going to do Nasus mid and pair him with his bro Renekton, now is the time. Nasus priority just really high. Yasuo priority is insane. If you didn't have all AD, Yasuo is insane here. That is none of the champions that I am talking about.
I don't want the Orianna. I'll be honest. I don't want the Orianna.
I mean, you have Viego, you have Renekton, you have Varus. It is difficult to justify going another AD champion entirely. They are going to go for the Orianna. So this time around, I do feel like Blue Whites have the better draft going into the game. The Leona is going to be really, really good into the MF, but only the MF. It's not the pick into the Smolder. It's not the pick into the Kennen. It's not the pick into the Vi. The reason I really advocated for it last time was because of the MF Zyra thing. This time around, though, one thing you do have as Witch Gang is your comeback play is really obvious. You essentially have an Orianna Bull delivery system. And if you're Viego, that's the one that you want to get really far ahead, is able to get ahead in the early phase into a relatively squishy Blue-Whites. Then with that Orianna combo, Viego should be able to clean up and get those resets in fights. So a very cohesive draft from RG, but RG are the ones that need to be forcing, are the ones that are pressured to force. And when we saw Blue White's force last time, that's when you started getting those separations, those isolations that Witch Gang were eventually able to capitalize on. So we'll see. Witch Gang are the ones that have to be aggressive, have to force, have to make it happen later on. If they don't, if they just sit there, those ranges are now in favor. It's not a poke comp, but those ranges are still heavily in favor of Blue Whites.
I guess there's a couple of questions for me for the draft. Right, I feel like, again, I do agree that they didn't have any AP sources, but there wasn't, and there aren't any big tanks on the other side of Blue Whites, right? Like they have a Kennen, they have a Vi, they have a Rakan, right? None of these members are going to be the big Omega Malphite problem, you know what I mean? So I do feel like there is a world where they could have gone for another AD pick, and I am a little bit surprised that they've gone against going back to the Jace, because we have a very similar setup from Blue Whites. They've gone for another ADC, they've gone for a bit of engage with the Vi and the Rakan, but I feel like the Jace could have still put in a lot of work in this game, and it was so effective in the later stages for Witch Gang that I am surprised they went against it. But the Orianna, I guess it does do a little bit more, right? It gives the shields, and if we are playing around that Viego, it keeps them that one step healthier, and maybe that's all they need to get those resets.
I mean, I think it's really simple, right? They saw the top laner this time around, so they responded for top, and last time around they saw the Corki mid, so they responded with Jace mid, right? So I think that's the only reason why they didn't go for it this time. They're responding in kind in draft, which is a fairly safe way to do it. I just don't agree with Renekton's response, right? Jace's response to Corki was much more powerful than Renekton's response into Kennen. I have a question for you, by the way, right? In a fight, who do you think wins? Is it the smart man or the crazy man?
Crazy as in, like, they're just crazy. So it's just a mental state difference. Smart or crazy?
I mean, you don't have to answer this now, but I will ask you this again over the course of the series, all right? And I'll reveal the answer at the end, okay? But just keep that in mind, all right? Just think about it. Just think about it while we're doing this, right? Which one wins the fight? Smart man or the crazy?
Okay. All right. Interesting. I think my knee-jerk reaction, just for the interest, would actually have been smart man, but then on a little bit of thought, I actually think I favor the crazy man, just because my initial thought was like, okay, smart man's going to think about it, going to be able to prepare better, but actually, how can you prepare for someone that doesn't even know what they're doing, you know? Which gives a little bit of that extra flair for the crazy person. At the end of the day, realistically, it's whoever her lands first, but
hold that thought. All right, we'll come back to this next game, all right? As we get RG hitting the wave first again. They love getting that early prior on towards bot side, but this time around, Viego knows he's not going to have any kind of priority on top, whereas last time around it was typical on the Gnar versus Renekton matchup. This time it is essentially reversed. So Viego is going to end his clear on towards bot side. RG playing really hard for prio there. Probably feel happy to go for skirmish. BW, though, they do actually have Vi matching on top to bot as well. Right, so depends which one you think is going to be better on that early skirmish. Looks like, though, with that first minion advantage, he was going in there, assuming, because level 2 is actually coming up really, really fast. On the next minion, they're going to get level 2. So BW, with MKR like that, are playing really far back on that level 2, knowing that they don't want to be a part of that whatsoever. Smolder, though, gets really early crash and leans really hard on toward bot side, gets that vision in, so they'll know if Viego goes for any kind of creative pathing here. For example, if he just crosses straight through a river and then goes via Tribush, which is exactly what Viego is trying to do. So that ward already paying dividends. I think he knows that. That's why he hit the thumbs up. But, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Vi can choose to respond here, but Vi does not believe for a single second that she's able to do something because Leona is able to first move through Tri-Brush. It just allows Jones not to get caught by going straight on towards the red. She will clear that Krugs, but that red will be taken away by Slice.
And I like the confidence. I like the Rich Gang. They're not scared of the early game. They're willing to just put it all out there. They go for those aggressive invades and put Vi on that back foot to try and get a little bit of a lead onto Slice. Because as we said, Slice is going to be a big carry, a big component of Rich Gang's potential chances of victory here. And it is definitely going to be very much in their favor to get him ahead. Now, I've got a big question for you, Veteran, because we didn't talk about loads last game because I feel like it was quite even. But scaling-wise, Blue Whites have a Smolder.
They have a Smolder. That doesn't matter as much now as it did before. It means that there is still a very big similarity in the comps. When I'm describing RG's comp as a reset-based composition based around Orianna, right? Orianna getting all that big AoE damage out, and then Varus obviously cleaning it up.
Pomo taking a lot of damage. First blood. Pomo didn't even flash.
Easy. I mean, he's already dead, yeah, but that is kind of embarrassing for Pomo for sure, right? Getting solo killed that early by it. Pomo, though, does have the teleport, will have an item advantage coming, but it's only a tier, so not really any big combat stats coming in. Orianna just needs to make sure she gets the flash out now, and then match that recall. So, good advantage early on by Karosh. Smolder, equally, by the way, with that Kennen combo that Blue Whites have and the MF combo.
Ooh, MKR, good flash. We'll get away from Kansky as Mirai looking to get a decent amount of damage down. He gets will be Viego taken low, and I don't believe Viego can get anywhere close to this. But once again, Blue White bot lane being forced back, being put under pressure.
Yeah, they do sight the recall happening. Egets doesn't go for the straight interrupt, though. Doesn't want to get engaged and doesn't want to get Viego snowballing. If Viego snowballs, that's the really big thing. You can kind of deal with an Orianna snowball because the ability for Rich Gang to execute off of that is pretty much entirely predicated on Viego's ability to utilize it properly. Smolder is that execute factor once the Kennen MF combo comes down. So you do have that on both sides, just with that reset differential, right? With Viego starts getting those resets going, you basically go from being a 5v5 to pretty much being like an 8 to 9v5, right? So it's kind of ridiculous, that combo. That's what Rich Gang want. Blue White just have more priorities to play of early, you'd think, except that solo kill does come out by Rich Gang really early on in the game. So hats off to him. Typical, though, actually getting an engage.
Luxor is going to be able to get a decent amount of distance, though. It's tough to catch the Kennen, and Slice just not able to get into range. We'll clear out the vision, though, make Luxor that little bit more wary. But typical, as we said earlier, is going to have a bit of a tough time in this lane.
Yeah, Vi sighted as well by red side. They're actually fully aware of Vi's path towards top, so Slice knows he can afford to stay here and look at the waves. Veloxer is going to have to walk up to hit that cannon, to hit that backline. They know it. They time it beautifully.
The sun lands, the slicing maelstrom. That's a lot of damage. It's not going to be enough, I don't think.
Hey!
Slice picks up the kill, and that's kill number 1 on the snowball train.
Yep, and that is the guy that you don't want to get kills. You don't want this guy to have a higher level of execute. It looks like Blue Whites, they want to try and make something happen. Egets not quite making it on.
Egets might be caught out here way too far forward, and now Karosh with the shockwave. 2 members landed. Himam comes in to help, but it does not matter. You might as well just call home because you're going to be sent there real quick. Pomo dead again. 2 more to Karosh, and Rich Gang are blowing this game wide open.
Last game, this happened, but the opposite direction. Blue Whites blew the game open early on, and then Rich Gang came back. Let's see if Blue Whites can try to bring things back themselves. Top lane, absolute disaster zone here, with Kennen having his flash burned early, and then giving the initial kill that Slice really needs. But mid lane, Karosh really taking it to Pomo, first in the 1v1, and then that successful 2v2 comeback from Kansky and Karosh, with Egets extending again. Egets extending in final fights last game, being a big problem for Blue Whites, and now being a problem for them really early. There's an element of desperation they seem to be playing with, given the kills that they gave up super early. They're now giving up even more kills off of that desperate play.
And you know what? I'm feeling like Leona has a part to play in this. Just to bring it back to game 1. I'm still really surprised they didn't even bring it in game 1, because Kansky, it's like their main champion that they play. But either way, they've got it now, and the pressure is definitely being felt. He gets not able to get themselves off the ground when they did try and get that gank off mid.
this is a good champ, right? With Rel, I was really happy to just see a Rel lose. I don't think Rel should win. But with Leona, right? Like, whereas I do think Leona's sometimes overrated and picked in situations I prefer Nautilus, I think Leona has been picked in good situations, not optimal, but good situations for her in both games so far. So whereas I do think that, like, the Leona last game should absolutely have been utilized against the Zyra MF composition and ultimately was played with it instead. And I do think that was a bit of a ball drop. I do think here Leona is being used really, really well.
And once again, pressure going to be applied. Slice going for that red buff again. Able to bring Kansky as well. Is trying to cover, but Karosh with the pressure too. It's just no opportunity. Although Blue Whites on the bot side are trying to make Mirai in a bit of danger. Does have to force the flash. And MK are able to get something back on their own.
And to clarify, if Blue Whites
wait, Viego, Slice trying to go aggressive here onto Yones. Yones will buy a little bit of space, but Heartbreaker is available. Nice rotation from the bot lane from Blue Whites will keep their jungler safe. But Pomo Shockwave again. I don't think the damage is here, but maybe Karosh is looking for it. Not going to be able to land the last bit of damage, and everywhere on the map, Rich Gang are putting pressure, and it's not going to stop yet, Veteran, because here comes the potential dive here. MKR locked up, Chains of Corruption. That's a kill, and they might be going for more. Slice able to get the stun off onto Egets. There's the Heartbreaker. Mirai takes the kill, and Rich Gang, it's formulaic. It's easy for them. They pick up even more of a lead over Blue Whites.
Yep, a heavy snowball beverage going in the early phase of the game. And to clarify, if this Leona was against the Varus Orianna, it would be even more deadly. But here we were talking about how good the MF would be into the Misfortune specifically. And what can he do really here as NKR? The ultimate isn't even there yet as Kansky. It will be so oppressive with the summoners ever now. It's so easy to get those summoners down. Slice not able to pick up either of these kills. We'll pick up the Drake, is 201 early on. And this Orianna, very, very fed. Orianna also hit a trigger point a little bit for me. I actually have a binding specifically when I play Orianna to make sure that after doing the ultimate QW combo on opponents, I can immediately E back on towards myself to get that last little tick of damage as the E moves through them, which you can always get off of the R combo there. But it's fine, Karosh. It's fine. Just a little bit of damage. You wouldn't have killed him. It's fine. Small trigger point.
Okay, well, we'll see if that combo gets utilized a little bit later. Grubso going to be spawning pretty soon, and I do wonder, like, Rich Gang, they're so far ahead at the moment, surely they can test and try and play for 6.
There is no way that Rich Gang don't contest this. If they don't contest this, they've severely dropped the ball, and it would purely be off of a delay on resets, but they are 100% on time to do this. Look at Smolder's items right now. That is not a man ready for a fight, right? All the damage here is definitely on the side of RG. I think it would be a bit of a fool's errand for BW to do an extended contest here. Viego hopefully is getting a level off this, mate. If you're not getting level 8 on this, okay, yeah, then it's completely justified. RG should really look to engage here, guys. Come on, you
4
have
versus 3, though. It is a little bit risky. 2 taken. There is still the opportunity to get the 4th and to get that buff. As here we go. Solar Flare into the backline. In goes the Renekton, but absolutely burning. Typical. Gonna have to rush away. Slicing Maelstrom over the top, but it's just a little bit short, and that's going to be the first kill. Kennen taken down. Slice turns into the Kennen, gets away, stays alive, will finally fall down, but in comes Karosh, the Fed Orianna, to do it all. As Blue Whites, they're trying to make something happen. Pomo still alive and very healthy, but I don't believe it's going to be enough. Mirai challenging them. Karosh just holding on. Mum comes through, a bit more damage over, ticking in. He goes aggressive, but gets taken down. And Blue Whites, it all hangs on Pomo. 1 versus 3. It's deja vu from game 1, but it's not going to be happening this time around. Although TPs make an added level of advantage here. Pomo trying to get the chase, flashes forward, doesn't get into range. Veloxa looking for Mirai, but the blast goes. It's just too much, and Rich Gang get away.
Yep, Rich Gang actually able to make it out at the end of that fight there. They aren't grouped up properly. What you don't see on here is that the Varus is only just entering the mid lane, let alone moving in for a full contest. So that rotation actually was off on timing by Rich Gang, whereas Blue Whites, they decide to overload topside of the map. They figured that's their best chance. If they overload, even if it's not going to be as good economically, maybe they can get a one fight here, maybe they can get the map straight back into that. Varus is able to come back in at the very end of the game, and the damage is just there. Karosh basically untouched the whole time. Remember, Karosh is the one that's 3-0, and even though Viego falls down, he's able to get some damage out as a Viego Kennen before going down there, and Pomo just doesn't have the damage, as Mirai there shows that the damage is entirely on one side there.
Oh, we're back, and we're in a fight right now. Karosh, though, finding Yones.
Wow!
Taking them down. One more auto gets it done. And Blue Whites, they're falling apart right before our eyes. Veteran, another set of kills, a little bit more advantage. And there is no response from Blue Whites at the moment. They need time to scale, but Rich Gang are giving them none.
Yeah, god damn, man. Yeah, so RG here, by the way, 11-2, really far ahead here, have Mountain Drake, and immediately wipe out Jonas the moment that we are able to come off the replay. No reason for them to be done yet. Egets probably should. Egets out of there. Slice.
No, but he can't. Can he? Has to use the ultimate. Slice did go for the Heartbreaker, wasn't able to get the kill onto Egets, but Egets having to use the quickening does not make it easier for MKR in this lane. Now, gonna have to try and dodge, duck, dip, and dive, because if they get any CC on top of them, they are dead. I think they will just about have enough space, as surely Jonas doesn't go in here. Surely not. Does drop down. Bullet time over the top, but a nice flash from Mirai gets the space, and it's an easy kill onto the Vi. And now Slice is the Vi. Pomo, though, has joined the fight.
Oh!
Over the top, looking to go straight up aggressive onto the smolder. They get the kill, and now it's just a bloodbath.
Run, he gets run!
A snipe in the back, and Blue Whites fall 0 for 4. Rich Gang extending their lead once more.
Rich Gang are currently over a kill a minute, 15 kills at 13 minutes and 50 seconds. Typical!
No,
wants to extend that even further, going heavy all in.
Side. Typical, going aggressive. Slicing Maelstrom will buy a little bit of space, but there's no stun available. Finally, they will be able to get the Renekton off of them, as Rich Gang are just flexing on them.
Yeah, 100%, and that's aggressive plays on both sides of the map there. Egets does try to get out of there. Ultimate coming out of Viega, but Ultimate also coming out of Egets. And MKR, man, took all of the damage that he took out of Mirai there, almost down to a third HP straight up. Now immediately, that off of that 1Q, almost to the death, and Ultimate not enough to take out Mirai. One reset comes out of Slice, and everybody starts to retreat. Turn on Pomo, the full tank Smolder build. Not able to keep him alive, not able to let him do any damage, not able to let him get anything but gift another reset onto Slice. It's Mirai snipes MF off and does 100% of their HP in total as Slice runs them down with Kansuke. Right now, there isn't a single side of the map that RG aren't able to win. That losing cannon matchup top side, typical. He doesn't like how his performance went after the early mid game. He's really taking
Yones has got to run, man. Anytime they're on the map, they are running away. One level down onto Slice, but it feels like so much more. Mirai are able to add so much with the Varus as well. I'm expecting it to be banned in the next game. I'm telling you that right now, Veteran, as the Dragon going to be started up by Slice. Rich Gang keeping the control. And I've got to ask the question, Veteran, what do Blue Whites do here to get back? You said they've got no winning lanes. Well, how can they win anything?
Yeah, I mean, right here, you have to think this Varus we are talking about as being a higher priority now. This lethality Varus build that did so much damage, all of MKR's HP on the bot side, did so much damage despite coming late into that Grubs fight. This surely gets contested next time around. We saw the Lilia ban, kind of surprising for us. Maybe that's a Varus ban, maybe it's the first big Varus. Maybe we change up the compositions in that sense, because I do think so much power is coming out of Mirai this game and came out of Karosh last game. The amount of poke damage you're able to helps if you hit your skill shots, Mirai.
Blue Whites do manage to pick up the Herald here, so they've got
Overload
something
again.
back.
They're on!
Aggressive. The bullet time is massive. This is going to catch out too, but they don't have the damage. Mirai is still alive, and Katsuki trying to keep them up, and Karosh with the shield. The shockwave catches one out, and they're still just doing too much. And on the flip side of the fight, it's not going any better. Slice moving forward. MKR is gone, and once again, Rich Gang win. Yes, they lose Mirai, but I don't think they're going to cry about it.
A complete lack of damage right there coming out from the side of Blue Whites. Rich Gang effectively tanky as a result of it. You'd think off that double by Egets, one of the best case scenarios for them. MKR getting a full channel out on towards that Varus, and the follow-up by Ions as well. Yeah, Mirai in there for the entirety of it. Not able to die, able to get his own shield up, able to get shield up out of Oriana, and two people essentially die trying to take out Mirai on the other side of the fight. MKR is just entirely vulnerable to both Slice and Typical. disaster all around. There's just far too much damage. Each member of Witch Gang can take on 2 members of Blue Whites at this point. Blue Whites are trying to overload parts of the map and get a de facto numbers advantage, but Witch Gang, they realize that if they just match them at any point now, they can just win off those individual fights. They are the guys that have the economy to take all of these fights. They should just match Blue Whites, and they should just win the game that way if Blue Whites are going to insist on overloading and not contesting them all waves and not trying to split them up that way. Blue Whites seem to think if they run while Witch Gang are trying to push out waves instead of forcing Witch Gang to respond to waves, that Witch Gang won't just group on them. Witch Gang will group every time because the waves are already in a good state for them because you're ignoring them to overload.
And not to add more weight to the overloaded pack mule, but it is also Hextech Soul, which doesn't make this any nicer for Blue Whites in terms of dragon control when they're already 2 dragons down and we're 2 away from Soul Point. But silver linings should be pointed out. Rift Herald was secured. They are going to utilize it down mid lane, but I don't know how well this can go because every single time we see them group up, they seem to die a lot. And it's going to happen again.
Right
Giannis is
now.
down. Let's go over the top. They do not care anymore. The misfortune, Miss Who, that's what they're saying. The slicing motion used defensively. Mum is going to come in, but all she can tell you is you've just got to leave. You can't fight this fully as Rich Gang the sniper as well in the back.
He's going to get a reset in the back line.
Reset slices here, looking for the Sunday.
Oh,
no! In trouble. Will be going down. The
He's
reset
gonna...
to the smolder. Lives only just. Will not fall down, but it does not matter. Rich Gang take the tier 2, they take the fight, they take everything and more veteran, and I don't think we're going to be in this game much longer.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rich Gang are staying really true to their name here. Finally, the Ballas R is actually able to hit that pick insane, but MKR burns his ultimate for it. That big AoE control factor I was worried about is no longer there. Renekton tanking the full channel of the Kennen ultimate, does not care, does not have any care in the world. And Veloxa put so low that massively long-range Varus Q is able to hit. We're out of that replay so early, I assume something has to be happening, and it is. Blue Whites once again overloading a part of the map, trying to make something happen. RG's top laner thinking typical as he just walks away, unimpeded.
And like you said it earlier, but it's maintained. Rich Gang have more kills than minutes in the game alone, without even thinking about Blue Whites getting a kill on the board. And that is absolutely absurd. They are keeping the tempo high. They are showing exactly what we expected from them coming into the day. We said, Rich Gang, they like to play aggressive. They like to play ahead early. Blue Whites have issues with falling behind. Well, this game has rung all of that true and more. 12,000 gold at 19 minutes, as we are going to see the first tower picked up by Blue Whites. And they have maybe got the Croc in a bad situation here. He is going to start to go low, but the team are joining, and there's the snipe. In comes the Heartbreaker. Slice is joining in. It's a 3, it's a 4 versus 5 story. His life is going further and further and further. Giannis tries to get away, but they're pinned between a rock and a hard place. The tower is the only safety, and Pomo is trying to get the shockwave to take them down. And Rich Gang once again flex, once again win, and they can even go straight to the Baron right now.
9 kill Viego, 9 kill Oriana, 8 kill Varus. So Rich Gang have the gold, and they have it all on the champions that matter the most. That Leona's chilling on the 1, and the Renekton's chilling on the 1. They're happy with the assist, so long as their teammates are carrying them through. And this big combo that we were talking about, the Rich Gang have to force with, they're able to do it ad nauseum by playing through those big early game win conditions. Blue Whites just do not have the damage to threaten them, do not have damage to stop them, and we're always playing a very squishy composition. So the gap close is able to be there in even the worst of circumstances in Rich Gang. They're just cannonballing through this game, which is essentially a cannonball combo.
And look, Typical might only have 1 kill, but no one is trying to 1v1 this Croc. Right now, 4 members trying to kill him off, and there's just so tanky, no damage from Blue Whites, and then the team assemble.
Yeah, I mean, you're pausing for me to analyze what really is there to analyze here. Blue Whites, they're on retreat. They're splitting themselves up as they are on retreat. And Rich Gang, they're happy to go with any isolated person they can until they're at a big numbers advantage with their full combo still up. And they just execute it entirely on the last 2 remaining members. That is Soul Point at 21 minutes. That is Baron on the side of Rich Gang. I'd imagine they look to try to do a dive here. They probably feel confident enough to do so. 26 seconds, so MKR is back up on the map with the ultimate. They're probably not feeling that threatened. Any pick that they can find should immediately turn into a kill.
and 14,000 gold at 22 minutes. A stun has occurred. He gets in trouble. Double solar flare. The shockwave on top, veteran. It's just cinema. And it is going to be the closing pictures for Blue Whites here. Pomo trying to run, but the Heartbreaker comes through. Yones, the last one alive, trying to get away, but it does not matter. My apologies, misfortune is there. But either way, a 2 versus 5 is no state for Blue Whites. That's going to be the inhib. I believe, veteran, we're going all the way to the Nexus. Although Rich Gang, pause, they are going to go for the tier 1 first.
Tier 3 the they want to show that they actually can synchronize these crashes. They actually can play for 2 objectives at once, which they weren't able to do in the first game around. I respect it. Let's get some simulations in when we are at a 32-6 advantage in kills. I don't think I've ever seen a number discrepancy that high before. My God. And I've watched a lot of Blue Whites games.
This is this is definitely one for the books. Not necessarily one that Blue Whites will want to remember, but yeah, it's definitely going to hit some records, I think, over this tournament. But at the moment, it does feel like I don't really know why he gets his fighting typical. By the way, this has been a little bit of a strange one. They're just kind of chilling, and I guess it's worth if typical's not in the fight for Blue Whites more than he gets.
He burned Eget's Ignite. That's actually really good there, because now Eget's can't use the Ignite and use the Grievous Wounds to deny Renex an additional HP when he presses R later on. So really good burn by Typical there. Eget's his controlling.
Smart. Smart from Typical there. Gets an extra summoner. And that could have swayed it all, really, veteran. I think actually with that Ignite, maybe, just maybe Blue Whites can come back. But right now, this could be it. Veloxa going to go in. Big stun, but it does not matter. Bullet time over the top might help that out a little bit. But Yones going low in the backline. Slice already moving forward. They're looking for the end. They're looking for the kills. The Oriana with the damage. Blue Whites just have to watch as their health bars disappear. Their base is broken. And game 2 is gone from their grasp, but no opportunity in this one, no resolve, no chance, just Rich Gang all game.
Both he gets some Pomo using the resolve tree, actually. I know he'd lie to our audience, to be honest. I really don't know, but what a statement game from Rich Gang game 2. Game 1 was extremely close. Game 2 was absolutely anything but.
Yes, that is not what I expected from game 2. We had, as you said, such a close game 1, back and forth, pendulum game. This one was a home run. There was no coming back. That was long gone out the stadium. No opportunity. We don't even know where the ball is anymore after that game. So someone needs to go get a replacement and bring it back for game 3, because Blue Whites, they have to make a stand. If they lose their next game, veteran, it is 3-0. Bye-bye. You're down to the lower bracket.
Yep. I mean, if they're holding any hidden strats, they better be some big auto winners for the lower bracket, because right now is where you have to vomit every have. You need to prove that you deserve to be playing with the big kids, because right now, Rich Gang look like they want to be locking their place in the finals.
That was game number 2. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, game number 3, and I can't believe I'm saying this already, potentially the final game of this series. And we are back once again. This is game number 3 and could be our final game of the night if Blue Whites do not manage to secure a win here. They have been put against the wall. Backs are definitely a little bit sweaty. They've got to be nervous, veteran, because at the moment, Rich Gang, with the last game's performance, it looks like there's no way back.
Imagine it flips, by the way. Blue Whites just utterly obliterate Rich Gang in like 21 minutes, you know? Like, that would be the best possible outcome right now for the health of the series. But realistically, we are thinking that was a ridiculous statement game by Rich Gang. They've proven that they can win ahead, that they can very consistently have that lead when ahead. They've proven that when they are behind, you can literally never count them out at any singular stage of the game. So I am actually really excited to see how this Rich Gang plays, because the manner in which they were making comes back in the first game, it wasn't just about in that grouping, poke comp's really good. It was all the times they were trading the map. That was really interesting for me. So seeing how cleanly, efficiently, aggressively they were able to push forward this advantage in game 2, I'm actually thinking Rich Gang look pretty well-rounded to me right now.
Yeah, they were on form. They were able to make it happen, and they've also shown very different compositions. Like you said, they have a lot of well-rounded. They can adapt. They can make different plays. Now we are going to see Blue Whites on the red side. So this is now going to ask a little bit of a different question towards Rich Gang, because they are now going to be getting counter-picked theoretically, but we did already see some of that in the last game, veteran.
Yeah, we did. I mean, it's really strange because obviously they were winning that top side, technically, and yet they weren't, right? Typical has had the number of his opposing top player, and whose name has actually escaped me right now, consistently. Veloxa, yes, every single game, whether he's on the winning matchup or not. So that is a big problem for them. If they get Typical into these team fights, that's when Typical doesn't seem to be so on point in laning phase. He's at the number no matter what the matchup is. So it's going to be interesting to see why they want red side so much. Maybe it's more about that mid lane matchup, because they definitely did have a good turn of Corki into Jace and then a really bad turn of Smolder into Orianna. So maybe for them, it's more about securing that mid lane matchup, where we do know their mid laner absolutely can do really, really well. That Corki game, when he was snowballing, he was very, very effective. He had a couple of highlight plays there. Smolder game, obviously not so much, but let's just get him on a comfortable matchup is probably what they're thinking. But let's see what happens when we get into the draft.
Yeah, Pombo definitely looked exceptional game 1. Game 2, yeah, we're not going to talk about it. You know, it just wasn't it. You know, it just wasn't there. But either way, we'll see if they can play around the map, right? I think Slice, again, really showing up. I talked about Slice on the Lilia. I talked about Slice being a potential playmaker. On the Viego, looked like another level, right? Was just willing to throw hands. But we do also have to give the benefit of the doubt of they were on a massive gold lead for a lot of the game. So it wasn't like they were just kind of coming into it from the get-go, just absolutely diffing them. It wasn't a no-hit run, Elden Ring energy win over the side of Blue Whites.
It was any percentage, but it was a speed run.
It was, yeah, indeed. But we are going to see how this one turns around. And I'll be honest, my thought process is kind of like, okay, well, what are Blue Whites scared of, right? Because maybe they change who they ban. But if you ban Varus, then you maybe leave open the Gwen or the Lilia. And then you could also leave open the Zeri. And it's like, it's a little bit of a catch-22 where I don't know how Blue Whites want to navigate themselves around this. And actually, maybe, veteran, they themselves have to say, you know what, we're not going to be able to play into whatever Rich Gang want. We just play our most comfortable setup and see how that goes.
I do feel like the Varus was a big miscalculation, though. I do think that Lilia ban was not necessary. I don't think it was the Lilia that was annihilating them. I do think it's very consistently being the Varus. So I would be surprised if they do regret banning the Varus, but it also may be too little too late. Rich Gang might just have momentum is a very, very real thing in these games, right? If you can see that win, you're very likely to be able to start snowballing. But on the flip side, if you see that win and maybe you start losing, maybe you do start to lose confidence. But the way that Rich Gang were dredging their way back first game, I don't really think that's likely to be the case here. So this momentum could really just stay on point for them, regardless if they get that Varus or not. I do need to see that Varus contest. You're going red side, I think you just need to ban the Varus at this point. I would first pick the Varus if I was Rich Gang here. We'll see. Maybe they just go for the MF and the Varus gets traded, and that's the plan from Blue White.
And last time these two met, as I said, in spring, it was a 3-2 win to Blue Whites. It was not a reverse sweep, though. It was tit for tat for a little bit of the game. I think it was 1-1, then 2-1, and then obviously the 3-2. But it was a sentiment where this time there is hope. There is potential. Blue Whites have done it before, and it was pretty much this exact team that did beat a previous Rich Gang. Obviously, the new Rich Gang seeming to have a lot more of a dangerous stance against this Blue Whites roster. And look, I'm just kind of excited to see what we're going to see, because I feel like Blue Whites, they took game one. That was good. They went into game two. I think they just got a fresh slate right here. They just got to sweep that one under the rug. That didn't happen. We're now playing a series where we just have to win each game, just 3 best of ones, you know, and you've got to get every single victory. And they just have to start off fresh. They have to let go of whatever happened in that last game, because Rich Gang are definitely hungry for this win and they need to turn this one around. But here we go. Draft for game number 3, veteran. Senna going to be banned straight away.
Yeah, Senna immediately off one. Let's see if this Varus gets contested. Immediate ban on the Varus. The Blue Whites absolutely have learned their lesson from the other 2 times. These bans staying completely static. Senna, Seraphine, this is also what Rich Gang were banning on that blue side. They're not worried about it. I wonder the MF is going to get contested. Blue Whites themselves, have had really high priority on that misfortune on blue side. They clearly think it is a pick that needs to be contested really hard, even though obviously it hasn't actually worked out for them both times. But the MF ban has obviously come through. And let's see Rich Gang's final ban. The Powerpuff Girls are actually still going to be available. They've been really worried about They've been really worried about the not the Vi, it was Zeri, it was Gwen. The other one. Yeah, and they
Lilia and also Vi.
Lilia. Yeah, so let's see which one of those they prioritize. Out of all of them, I'd imagine it would potentially be the Zeri, but I'd just let them have Zeri and then go Nautilus, to be honest. Let's see what they choose to do. Lilia.
Okay.
Lilia's going to be down, so they've removed every pick that's been good for Rich Gang in this series, and they've left open every single pick they were worried about Rich Gang taking. They might be thinking, if you take 1, we'll take 2.
I'll be honest. Gwen Prio goes crazy here. Like, okay, Zeri the first lock makes sense. Mirai's most picked champion.
Okay, so Nautilus would be the big thing here. If you go both Nautilus and Vi, Rich Gang can't do like a Yumi Zeri combo, and it really annihilates Zeri here. Both of those champions are up. Vi has been contested in the ban phase. Don't do this. This is literally the worst thing you could pick. That's literally the worst thing you could pick. They deserve to lose. That's literally the worst thing you could pick there. You couldn't pay me to pick that. Hope they're not paying whoever picked that. The Nautilus and the Vi are both still available. Vi, the classic Zeri counter. And Nautilus, would still be really, really good here if the enemy was to go. They've got both their big power picks. So both Zeri Gwen insta-lock by Rich Gang. Remember, Blue also contested the whole time, and we have both brought up the Gwen priority for Rich Gang. They run the Gwen in that jungle typically. When they do so, it opens up more AD mids, it opens up more AD tops, and it just looks really pretty next to the Zeri on the screen there. Vi still though can control that Zeri. You can start thinking about full control. Otherwise, the Leona really good into the Jhin in particular, but it does leave the Nautilus open and removes Blue White's ability to int the draft harder by going for the Leona instead of the Nautilus. So they may have
really waiting for the Rel pick.
You know, if they just go well, no way, man. No shot. No, they are the most cooked people on the planet. They go to Rel. The slightly logical but still very suboptimal thing. Oh. Man, Jonas needs to be like the greatest jungler on the planet. He's like the only guy. This is so... Oh my
Damn.
god, man!
The
Oh
draft. Yeah.
my god, man! It would be so funny if Blue White just stomped this game now. That would actually be really funny.
You know what? It could definitely happen. I will say they have decided to take on the final boss, though. Like, they have decided to give the most optimal pickups, right? I think Zeri, Gwen, Leona. Like, Gwen isn't the most played because it's banned so many times against Slice, but Leona and Zeri are literally the most played picks by this bot lane in playoffs. It is unreal how often they go to this one and they're confident on it. And now we're going to go into second phase. And the Jhin Rel, you're not a fan. The Vi definitely can do what it wants against the Zeri, but
yeah, the
we'll
Vi
have to see how they round it out.
Yeah, like the Vi is really, really good here. I'd honestly overlook Zeri, then remove their ability to pick any other kind of low mobility champ. But right now, I think if they just go for low mobility in the mid lane, they kind of feel home free. Even just go for Ezreal because they don't have enough to you here. These are the kinds of things they could be thinking of. That Yone, that Nexus ban. You're going to go for a solo lane on Nex and get counterpicked by one of Rich Gang's solo lanes, so they are anticipating being able to go something like the Jace. They ban Orianna, and they're anticipating being able to go something like the Jace here, given that they have the Gwen. It'd be really interesting to see what Korosh decides to bring out. He was hopping the Zed earlier. There are incidentally good matchups with the Zed. Let's see what ends up happening. Like, pairing with Vi, if you have a Vi coming out here, I start thinking about stuff like Ari, right? So if you do go for maybe a low mobility champ, Ari could be pretty good here, both in towards Zeri and in towards that low mobility comp. We're back in that kind of a mess, but if you're gonna pick this way. Round 2 of Veluxa with the oh my god. They've been watching the cast, haven't they?
I'm really surprised that they banned Renekton, by the way, and picked Kennen. I don't know. I just wasn't.
Through. Yeah.
It is. Here we go. Nasus is on the Rift.
That went through. So you have one of the big ADs. I wonder if the second pick they're going to do is also going to be a flex pick, and they're going to decide, yeah. So that is that. Technically, you can still flex on that, but Tristana in the mid lane, Nasus in the top lane, Nasus in towards the Kennen has been a pretty strong pickup for now. Tristana in the mid, very, very difficult champion to counter. Brother Gwen is on the other team. Gwen is right there, bro. Gwen is right there. Gwen is right there.
Rock beats scissors, right? Right.
True, actually. And it's gonna be the Syndra instead. That's not a bad pick, actually. It's really difficult for the Nasus to actually... Honestly, no, after Nasus... No, I see. Yeah, like, a Syndra's still a decent pick here. It can have good potential to set up those picks along with Vi. You want that kind of thing initially to set up Vi's heavy all-in. With Jhin, they actually do have quite a cohesive composition. It's just not a composition that responds to the things that Rich Gang have, right? Yes, the Vi is there for that Zeri, but for everything else, Blue Whites don't really have the capacity to split in sense of being able to overload them on there. I do think Rich Gang have a fairly strong draft given the circumstances in. They're just thinking, okay, pretty much everybody wants to dive us in, but they don't have to. They can play range. Zeri can play a screen away from the fight, come in when the executes start coming in, and that will set up the start resetting. You do have ways to play around this as blue side. But if they do just play heavy all in, Tristana just jumping in W, Zeri just jumping in instant, Nasus just zooming straight into you, Gwen zooming straight into you, then the Syndra can have really, really high value. So I do see the logic on that pick.
Yeah, I guess the one thought that is really, really in my mind is that they have no real front line, right? They have the Rel, they have the Vi, but we're talking about Zeri here. Like, Zeri could just jump in, lightning crash, and pretty much everyone could end up being half HP. And then it only takes a little bit more of just anyone to jump on and finish off that kill. And we know that the resets are going to be coming in from Tristana. Gwen is always going to be quite dangerous. And hey, like we've said it before, Leona is going to snipe you. If you're immobile, you are at risk of getting solar flared.
Yeah, 100%. And that Leona has a Jhin, has a Syndra, has double low mobility that she's going into. The snipes are there, right? The snipes are there. The snipes are coming in thick and fast. It is a very, very difficult game, to be honest. You can easily see how it could go really bad for Rich Gang, but who knows? Maybe this just turns out to be the Rich Gang stomp, the start of a comeback, and I look like I have egg on my face after flaming that draft so heavily. So let's see which way around it is. I don't anticipate it being that way, all right? This should just be another Rich Gang win to a 3-0. But let's see, J. Well, I am excited to see who the winner of this particular game will be.
Yeah, because you never know. The game's not over until the Nexus is broken,
Sure,
and you get that extra 50 gold. So there is a little bit extra that could happen. I feel like Blue Whites, they put themselves in a tough situation. We said it's similar in game 1. They almost won game 1. Okay, can they go that one step further and win game 2? We'll find out as we go on to the rift for game number 3.
You figure out who wins yet, by the way? The smart man or the crazy man?
I have been pondering it a little bit more. I guess it's tough because like I'm thinking, okay, are we going Sherlock Holmes here? If you've seen the movie with Robert Downey Jr., like he's just predicting everything, right? But then also like Mike Tyson, if we're talking fighters, was a bit crazy, right? Maybe a bit is even an understatement. And he won a lot.
I love that photo of all of the cops around Mike Tyson when he's bitten off the ear. Like, all right, do you want to go in first? Or like, my God, man, that's one of those situations where you don't know if you can actually do anything to him without putting him down. Anything less than full lethality, and this guy is just going to box all of them. That's like Mike Tyson was a creature of power, man. I say was as if he's dead. He is a creature of power.
Yeah. And he might still fight Jake Paul. Who knows?
You were about to say play. You're so esports brained, Mike.
I was going to say play a role, but then I decided against it. I was thinking, do I say play a role in the demise of Jake Paul? But I don't feel like him winning would actually demise Jake Paul. So it's not necessarily the right thing to say.
I hope he likes the gigantic amount of money he just got for that. He must have gotten to do that.
Well, it was going to go on Netflix, so it's I imagine that the money is good. Well, I don't know because obviously they changed fight day, so I don't know what's happening. I imagine it probably is still with them. But either way, one thing that isn't on Netflix is the game that we have right now. It's on Twitch. Make sure everyone's tuned into the NLC LOL right now because Rich Gang might be sending their ticket to the final of this promotion tournament. And
shout outs to all of our guys on YouTube as well. Despite Bezos paying for everything around me, we haven't forgotten about it. Please don't steal my data, Google.
But right now we have both junglers on the bot side. Vi going to be clearing up top side. So is Gwen. I am interested that Gwen is going top side. I would have thought Slice maybe goes down to the bot side, plays around the Leona a little bit more than the Nasus.
Very famously not too strong early Leona versus Rel, famously well favored early. We went over this actually earlier, the Rel versus Leona specifically. So got to keep up here, Jail. Got to keep up. Whereas the Nasus absolutely with that Spirit Fire early on, with that area early on, with everything that guy has early on, can get an advantage into Veloxa. And we know this matchup so far has not really been matchup dependent. It has been person dependent, typical. Had a very good understanding of the laning phase versus Veloxa in the first 2 games. So Gwen will finish clear on top side. Vi, on the other hand, probably should be thinking about that bot side there. And Tristana just autoing everything in her path, winning out on the midsection. Nasus going to get a quick cheater recall, as the kids are calling it these days. Do you call it cheater recall, J-Will? Actually, you're old, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I was of the wave of like, what the hell's a cheater recall? So yeah, no, I don't know what I would have called. I don't know, what was it called before, or was it not named?
I mean, you just called it like, well, I'm just recalling on third wave.
Just a good reset. Yeah,
I just reset. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't really term it anything like that. Yeah, we always called it freezing though. I will say that it was always called freezing. It's just an obvious name, All right, cool though. But bot side also both on resets. Leona gonna be behind Egets here. Egets might be looking to do something in midsection. Gwen does get it on top. Yeah, Egets on mid.
Egets is looking. Karosh in
misses.
Ignites ticking.
No!
Out. Pomo not gonna be able to get the kill, and Slice now able to get a decent bit of damages. Here comes Kunsky. They've locked down Egets. Big trouble for the Rel. Snip, snip, and first blood to the Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, Eleanor Scissorhands there with the first blood, 400 gold straight to
No way. Surely not. Surely not a second kill. Yone's in trouble here. The exhaust slowing them down. One more auto would do it, but just able to get away. And Slice not going to be able to get into range, but Yones once again being chased around their jungle, being forced back.
Oh my God.
Slice actually going for more. But he gets his in the way. He's going to get the stun off. And Pomo now actually maybe putting Slice in a bit of danger, but the Gwen will just walk away.
Yeah, I mean, that's good info as well. Zeri knew from that she could crash bot side, and Jin is actually really hard threatened. So Leona knew that she could stay with Slice, which means it's actually kind of suicidal if he gets to be here. Does sort of dodge, psychically dodge the E, and that Gromp, they saw that Gromp timer when they moved past earlier. They know they can extend for this. Vido has got that recall off. Yes, Slice does have more gold than the Vi, but none of that is spent yet. That's all debt, that's all credit. You need to get back into the base, you need to get that out of your bank account and into someone else's in exchange for some bountiful consumer goods. Hell, Amazon and Twitch.
Slice there getting the base stopped, which obviously will affect their tempo a little bit. I don't know if they're going to be super sad about it, but it does look like Jonas might actually try and go for an invade onto the Raptors, and it is being read by the Gwen.
Doesn't Italy and Twitch have hidden synergies?
Of what?
Amazon and Twitch.
Oh, nice. I was really thinking that was like poison, like some sort of range thing. I don't know what's going on here, but there we go. Nice.
I'm operating on dad joke levels that are hitherto unseen.
Karosh, though, having a bit of a tougher time. Pomo actually having a nice laning phase, right? Which obviously was the big downfall of the Smolder pick in the last game.
Yeah.
As a typical, doing some pretty typical Nasus things here. I feel like this is just a tough lane that we are going to see just evolve very badly if Nasus gets that kill, by the way. But in the mid lane, we are going to see another roam with the Leona. Pomo
oh
in
no,
trouble here. Karosh trying to get the damage down, will not have enough. And Karosh able to stay alive.
Dead? No! Barely not dead, actually, by Karosh there. And Kennen obviously surviving on top side. This is not Ghost on the Nasus. It has Ghost on the Nasus. I think Kennen's already dead. As is, we are waiting for those tier 2 boots to come out. A little bit of CDR and the Kennen.
Surely he doesn't
guaranteed to die. Probably not, but Kanosh does not have teleport. Will get denied a ton of minions if he does choose to recall. So I think that skirmish could end up biting them. RG,
or maybe this is Blue White's moment. Yone's going to get aggressive here. It is a 3 versus 4 slicing Maelstrom over the top, and that's a lot of damage from Blue White.
Oh, come on!
Yone's getting away as well.
Run,
and they
Typical!
Just turn it around. Typical cannot get the kills and has to leave the vicinity. Flash down as well. And Blue Whites with the proactive play early on.
Okay, so Blue Whites now do have a kill lead. Yona's actually staying full knowledge by Typical on how low Yona's is. Those grubs, they aren't going down yet. Only one has gone down at all. Yona's getting HP back the more that he hits that scuttle with that jungle item, gets the additional refresh from the soul of the grubs there. Wow, that's really satanic. And meanwhile, we get this replay going on. Leona kind of just missing everything. Absolutely could have turned this all the other way around if Kosh was able to set on the stun Syndra and get a second round of rotations in, but not to be. Pomo going really ham, and now crucially, even though you started this off of top player, Kennen is on a reset ahead of you, and Tristana's not able to be here. So fast players will be available, slow players will be available to you. The exit is the thing that you really want to be doing here. But instead of doing that, instead of getting those reset on top into a difficult retreat and accepting that Tristana's not going to be able to do anything from the midsection, they overforce it and they do fall into the Kennen as MKR falls into that Leona.
He's able to get away though, walks out of this one alive. He gets and Yones able to cover, so no further follow-up from Mirai, which is not the worst situation, right? As you said, Zeri's not particularly strong early on, so can take a little bit of time to scale up, but winning out in the lane is always going to be a positive. However, it is pretty even in that bot side. First dragon though has spawned, and we haven't got anyone near it just yet. The grubs in the end did actually go all 3 to Rich Gang.
All the way to Rich Gang. Oh, Karosh dodging the big E, and if Pomo does the E, basically a typical Tristan into Mage matchup. Doesn't feel like going all the way, though. Doesn't have mana to utilize them properly. So Karosh is actually just going to have to back off again. Doesn't have teleport once more. This could be another round where Pomo's just able to deny CS. Pomo's doing much, much better in this 1v1 matchup on the mid lane than was able to do so before. Really seeming to feel it on the Syndra.
Yeah, up 15 CS. That's a decent lead, as we are now going to see Yones going for that dragon. And it's a very similar map state to what we saw around those grubs, right? Blue Whites have more members on the field, therefore they can't lose this one theoretically. But Slice maybe not going to be too dissuaded by it, as we are going to see Tristana slowly making their way back towards mid. And he gets just watching the Gwen do the dragon.
Yep, just watching, biding his time. But it's not going to really amount to anything. Syndra trying to get set on midsection there, Tristana pummeling her in, so A lot of the priorities here on bot and on mid going in favor of Gang. Not good for Egets to try to go in there. Karosh trying to see if he has his opportunity again. Maybe look at the final auto, leaning really heavy top, given that he knows his team is bot side, by the way. That Vi, thinking that's tasty, corrects his positioning in lane, is now leaning down towards bot. Pomo moving up aggressively, knowing he has that Vi over the wall, ready to come in if Karosh thinks it's his moment.
Oh, but on the bot
But
side, MKR, we've seen this story before. Goodbye. It is going to be picked up by Kansky, which is a little bit sad for Rich Gang, but a kill, the Jhin removed from the map.
Yep, at least they're able to deny CS on that bot side, as the CS has been done really heavily on the mid section. Karosh essentially always two
the
ways
stun
behind.
mid-air, Karosh in big trouble. Here comes the cease and desist, and goodbye to Tristana.
Yeah. So, Pomo, definitely shades of game one where Pomo was able to get an advantage, was pretty much the big carry for Blue Whites, but it wasn't enough. This game, will it be enough, right? As Nasus versus Kennen, he's scaling. The man is scaling. He is waiting for later on where he's just going to run straight at them for all holy hell. But Pomo, once again, that big focal point for Blue White's potential advantages.
And there is a lot of CC on the side of Blue White. So there is a world where Nasus isn't allowed to play too much of the game, but then I guess you are giving up CC onto other members, because if you then don't focus Slice, Karosh, or Mirai, well, the game might not go too well. But with that being said, so far so good for Blue Whites. They're up a slight advantage, 600 gold. I do believe most of that will be with Pomo, and the Syndra is looking very strong. However, MKR still having a little bit of a tough time in the lane against Mirai.
Yeah, incredibly tough time all around. We do have to point out, basically 3v1 plays that are happening. Egets goes a bit too ham on the roam, or is a bit late on the roam timing, or a bit late on the back timing and towards bot side, and that free man is always there by Rich Gang on top of MKI. It's not like he's getting isolated 1v1 versus Mirai. Even that Varus kill in the first game came off of that
fight in the jungle though. Here we go. That's going to be Jonas going aggressive onto Slice. Here comes the needlework as Pomo the first one to rotate from the mid lane. The Jhin with the curtain snipes out the Gwen, and this is another big play for Blue Whites. They brought the numbers, they brought the advantage, and they're looking to take this one home. Typical in the middle is the big dog, but cannot get the bark to be louder than the bite, as we are going to see Typical moving forward a little bit more. It gets low, but does not matter. Another big team fight win for Blue Whites, and I feel like Rich Gang, they're just playing over aggressive as if they're already ahead.
Yeah, they absolutely are. They're feeling that momentum from the first game, but probably not in the right way. Zeri, though, able to get structure on bot side, able to get all 5 plays, able to crash over, well, not quite crash over tier 2, but able to get the final bounce anyway into that reset. So they have traded something back on bot side, but this Jhin, 4-1, very, very strong. It's not just going to be Pomo as the big focal point, 1-0 and 5. Most of their goal, most of that big advantage is on the Jhin. The other thing in terms of individual goal, that's probably still traded back on towards the Zay. Rich Gang, this feels more like game 1, where Rich Gang, they have the better composition, but the early game doesn't quite go in their favor. Big overextensions, fast plays that need to be fast, not quite being fast. But you can still see how that composition can do really, really well later on when we get into these A rounds and we get to the preparing.
They need to keep it close. If they start letting it get away from them, well, Blue Whites might just stat check them. They might just hit them with the wallet diff. Yeah. And it would be a little bit of a sad way to go out. But Rich Gang now starting to rotate Mirai around the map, already giving a lot of plates towards this Zeri.
Yeah, I mean, this Zeri, they've had really high prio on it, and Blue Whites had really high prio. So there are still things they fear, and those things that they fear has been getting gold on the side of Rich Gang. True to their name. So let's see if it's enough. Let's see if Mirai really does need to be feared, or if the Vi is enough of a control factor for that Zeri to not be such a big deal later.
Flash having to be blown by MKR is a little bit expensive. Typical, all they had to do was wither, and then the threat of the Tristana jump was a little bit too much, as Typical making their way safely around towards the bot side, trying to avoid Jonas.
Yeah, we're seeing like a 2v2 happen topside, Kennen plus well, which is essentially ADC plus or range plus support. And they're only on 3 plates top, whereas we're down to 1 plate on bot side. Blue White's feeling very, very comfortable about the state of the map in this swap scenario, and this is a swap scenario. The potential trade back is getting that Herald. If you get that Herald, even though you're losing tempo on bot side, you should be able to immediately get tempo back on your favor with taking the Herald down. This is an MDK game. they would be trying to burst this as fast as humanly possible and then immediately drop it top, right? Especially given the likelihood of an extension for Drake by Blue Whites on the bot side. If you take this and drop it top, you will actually have map control in the next rotation. But we'll see if they do that. Likely, they're just going to take it, hold it, and try to use it for a mid tower.
Yeah, exactly as you called it. Looks like the mid play, although actually pings towards the top side, maybe leading to another opportunity, although I think the tower might just go down regardless. It is very low, and now that the platings are gone, should be easily picked up, and it will be by Mirai. So a second tower taken down there. That's 2 for 1 overall, and Rich Gang are definitely keeping themselves very much in it. It is completely even in the gold.
They actually did manage to outpush bot for that Drake, so they've pushed top, they've pushed bot. They are actually in a good position to have map control on the second round with only one tower remaining on that mid-tier 1 tower. So now a standard Herald usage does become a map-winning play for them because they played that bot wave so calmly. Despite the lack of vision there, they were confident that Blue Whites would be going straight for that Drake instead of a tempo play on the Nasus, and so they were able to get tempo back themselves. Witch Gang showing the smarts once again that they were displaying in game 1. When they got an advantage back, it was generally a map advantage rather than just a series of plays like Blue Whites are able to do.
And the game tempo slowing down. It feels very relaxed, you know, kind of like just a nice walk down the river, right? Rather than the hectic game that was a roller coaster of game 2. And in a way, it does seem like it's favoring Blue Whites a lot more than it is a much slower tempo, although they are starting to pick it up as Jonas is going to get aggressive onto Mirai. That's the lockdown, but here comes the Zeri. A lot of damage, but it's going to be met with the Cannon. The Slicing Maelstrom cuts them off. No escape, and 5 members have just appeared mid, and they'll take 2 kills for free.
Yep, Zeri displaying pivotal Sven syndrome right there. Going straight up on the wave he has no business doing, while Tristana is effectively off the map on bot, and Nasus is still pushing out on top side. A shallow push there would have been perfectly fine unless you had those kinds of flank walls or any kind of vision for Nasus to move in. Very suicidal play there from Mirai. The Vi, that isn't even what we want the Vi for. We want the Vi for those positions where Mirai is playing up at wall and is ready to E over or ready to E in or anything like that. And Vi negates that terrain scaling instead. That's just really bad positioning from Mirai, and Blue Whites capitalize on it beautifully and are now going to try to fix the map in towards their favor.
They're going to have to use those TPs though, because the Herald is going to be crushed into the mid tower. Don't believe it will be anywhere near close to getting taken, although actually with the damage from Grosh, maybe so, but actually the stuns coming in could present a bit of a difficult opportunity here. Slice moving forward, gets caught by the Magnustorm. They're still going to the tower, and they take it to deny the TP.
TP denied!
It's going to be a 4 versus 4. They've already lost 1, and they're consistent in going forwards, but MKR with the lockdown, taking typical the decent range, and now one more shot could be all it takes. 4th shot. Not gonna kill, and Typical will be able to stay alive. So tower picked up, another kill donated to Blue Whites, but 3 towers removed. Veteran, I don't know which side is really winning out here, but it looks like Blue Whites are happy to keep going further and further.
Typical really needs to
Sunlands, Jonas going into the backline.
Oh no!
He gets Willful.
Oh no!
For the Tristana. Truarosh now moving forward. Jonas looking for the flash, gets into range, and will be able to pick up Typical. And Karosh just cannot get close enough, but will now be face-to-face with the Vi, hits them away, but there's the cease and desist to bring them back close. Now the Gwen, Slice, the hero that we talked about, the danger man on this pick, gets the stun, able to dodge away from the Syndra, and Slice showing why the Gwen has been banned.
Yeah, remember the amount of scaling on the side of Witch Gang is actually insane, by the way. So, whereas it does look sort of one-sided towards Blue Whites, a lot of this is because of how heavy their composition goes in towards the mid-game, and should do decently in the early game outside that top side that we have talked about. Here, by the way, teleport from Kennen gets utterly denied by Mirai, taking out the tower first. With the E gone, they do feel confident to move up. MKR does move in, does have all the damage, but that 4th shot was never going to kill Typical here. So unfortunately, the Big Burst trying to get this into a big numbers advantage doesn't happen, and then he gets, once again, does figure he has a potential opportunity for a big engage. You have Vi going for the flank here, and he moves up and is ready to go in at the same time as Vi does. Remember the state of the ultimates here, but unfortunately, it just leads into a straight kill for the Tristana. They do trade that kill back. Jonas ends up having to burn Flash here, which could be really crucial for the next round of objectives. and Slice coming in with all those low HP bars and a lot of chase potential. This, by the way, somewhat sad. Yonez's last little E there is actually able to nab, despite the flash being buffered from the Tristana there. So Tristana ends up burning that flash for nothing. That will also be big when it comes to the next round of objectives.
Yeah, I think it was something like 1,400 gold going into the pocket of Slice there from those 2 kills, 600 off of the Syndra, I think, and then 800 off the Jhin, something like that. So a lot of gold back onto this Gwen. However, still a lead going in for Blue Whites as they're going to find another pick here. Kanski in big trouble, will just be removed from the game as he gets with the Magnustorm, able to bear a bit more space, but Slice able to cut through them like butter.
Yep, and look at top, by the way. Tristana going really hard top. 2 lanes being traded for this Drake, both heavily in favor of Witchgang. This is really, really, really good map play. You know, I don't want to toot my horn too much.
Lands onto typical. Fury of Sands is going to be able to buy a bit more space, but Yonez now going aggressive, looking to get onto Mirai. Over the wall, though, buy some time. Slice looking to get in there, but cannot get the damage done just yet. MKR still walking forwards, but not able to find any more. Although the curtain call opens up, Slice now going to have to dodge all of this. Is not going to be able to make it out alive. And once again, Blue Whites find a successful fight. Veteran, they're starting to pull away. They're 2k gold, but now they're jumping straight into the middle of this fight. I don't know if this was the play, although actually it's starting to turn out for them. Garrosh trying to look for the reset, does get one. It's a 1-for-1 in that fight, but it's not going to be the end of it. Another kill to Blue Whites, and now the Baron is on the table.
Yeah, really good move by the Kennen there to take that portal all the way through to the other side and slam that R. You do have Naz's Spirit Fire, but I think at this point you are thinking about just letting... Blue White's doing this really slow, actually. Wait, they're doing this really slow. Nasus does have Spirit Fire up. I wish we could see the kind of points that he has there. He does have. He does not have the R.
Low, but it doesn't matter. Pomo gets the kill. Kanski trying to finish it off, but it is not enough damage. Blue Whites this time around with the wallet differential. Only 3k, but we have to have a little look a little bit later as to who the goal is on. They're still trying to do this Baron. It still isn't down, and Slice is now on the move. Can they potentially pick up a couple of these Baron busts? The TP from Velox, I think, will maybe dissuade them, although saying that, Slice is going aggressive. Garrosh is also in the backline looking for Pomo. The reset hasn't been picked up just yet. Slice kill, but it doesn't matter. No Tristana, no extra reset, and he gets stuns up Gwen, and it is going to be Blue Whites once more to reign supreme in the fight after Baron.
That's so weird. This isn't as one-sided as last game, but very few things are. But this is still quite a one-sided game, but you have to wonder, with Typical moving up there with the Spirit Fire, he acted as if he also had his ultimate, which he just absolutely did not in that fight. He actually burns it here with the initial catch by Pomo. Pomo, really ashamed of what happened in game 2, showing up huge, and there you see the power Vi has in towards the Zeri. In any other circumstance, they would already eat over the wall, but not so in this one, because you are aware that the Vi is going to follow you all the way there if she is already in range. You have to think that she's buffing that R as she is moving up to you. You have to essentially let her get that combo out before you can start moving over to the Zeri. Removed from the fight very, very fast. And with this portal by Kennen, turning immediately into the lockdown. Egets also throwing out CC, allowing the rest of the team to start catching up. Very good moves by the big CC chains on Blue Whites to exterminate them on the way out. And then, yeah, Rich Gang, they're playing way too confident. When they have their cooldowns up, it feels like they give them up a bit too easily. When they're making tempo plays, it feels like they forget about it. It feels like, especially when Naza's moving up there with absolutely no R whatsoever, that they're not giving Blue Whites the due respect that they still do deserve. Yes, game 2 was one-sided, but game 1 was not. That was a ridiculously close game, and Rich Gang, they need to get their heads back into the game. Oh,
Magnustorm back again under the tier 2. TP going to come in, but there's the Slicey Maelstrom. Everyone might be dead by the time you get here. And Pomo joins to just watch everyone perish.
Did he just go in there? Maybe he just delivered himself into the Kennen. Forget the cooldowns that they have there. Well, Kennen cooldown is down, but every single big ultimate, actually Egets ultimate is down, but the big Jhin ultimate is still there. Blue Whites absolutely could try to just force through the end off of the back of that ultimate. You
Spirit Fire there, Nasus obliterated, no chance on the map, and Blue Whites, they're coming back, they're looking to potentially go for the end. They've only got Kanski in front of them. The tower will fall, they're gonna keep going, the Nexus will be broken, and we said it could be potential for Blue Whites to dominate game number 3. Well, they've done just that, Veteran.
Yeah, they actually did. And honestly, man, like when it came to Rich Gang there, they severely dropped the ball individually across the board there. They were way too confident, as multiple people have been saying in chat, going in towards this game. Individually, they just forgot their critical cooldowns. They didn't want to play it slow. They did what we like to call conveyor belting. They were just going in one after the other, as if this was a team to be disrespected. It's not. Blue Whites are a team that is here to compete for their spot in the finals. They've made it to the LEC once, sorry, to the NLC once. They want to prove that they can do it again. And here they've proven, you guys had a one-sided game, well, we can have one right back, draft be damned.
We have talked about it. I talked about it in the green room as well before this. Rich Gang can sometimes be their worst enemies, and I feel like they played a little over aggressive here. We'll see what they decide to cook up. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, it will be game number 4. Maybe it's even Silver Scrapes soon. And we are back once again. This time for game number 4. It's not it's not as crazy as we thought it could have been, right? I predicted 3-1 to Rich Gang, so maybe
Okay.
I might have got it right. But a big game lies ahead. Blue Whites, they picked up the momentum. They turned it around in quite a dominant fashion as well. This wasn't they slowly clawed through the game. Rich Gang almost won and took the series. This was a Blue Whites came to play. Rich Gang did not get to.
Yeah, no, 100%. And but Rich Gang, like you were saying, they felt like their own worst enemies. Right? There were a lot of times where one of them would get caught and it would just cascade in the manner that they just absolutely did not have to do so. And then that final Baron contest felt desperate from a point that wasn't desperate at all from them, right? Like going in there without the R on the Nasus, just a Spirit Fire is fair enough, but committing the way that they did, I don't know, man. Like, I think there were a lot of instances of that game that was quite questionable on an individual level from them. I think maybe they got too feisty of the momentum. They disrespected their opponents too much. They felt like they were in that dominant power position that they were in their ridiculously dominant game too, towards the end of that, as if it was through the whole game, as if they still had that lead and carried that lead through. Hopefully they're more refreshed now, but this is a really good time. Rich Gang are off kilter now. Like Blue Whites do have them on the ropes. They need to start landing some knockout punches that they could easily take this to a game 5.
And against some of the scarier picks, right? We talked about it from the game 1. They were banning away Zeri. They were banning away Gwen. Now they could theoretically leave them open and not have too much fear because they've already beat them. They've already taken down what many would have called their trump card.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of putting Rich Gang on a back foot where maybe they're doubting themselves a little bit. But I will say, Veteran, there is a caveat to that. I do think that had Rich Gang played maybe a little bit less, I guess, I was going to say eccentric, maybe like a little bit more controlled, I should probably say, then maybe it doesn't go the way it did, right? Maybe they get to scale. Maybe they get to play the game properly. But all time will tell, as we are going to see a swap of sides once again. This time it's going to be Rich Gang back on red side. And Veteran, so far we have had a 100% red side win.
Yeah, and you know what? We had 100% Varus win until it was taken out. Maybe Rich Gang really are no Varus, no win. When they had the Zeri, when they had the Gwen, they were all in all the they did not play range there. With Varus, they didn't even have the option to start dashing in. So with Varus, they were playing really heavy range. Maybe that is just it. Maybe they are just those kinds of players where if the champion has a mode where you can play it all in, they will play it all in. So maybe the secret is let them have those champions. Pick your disengaged champs like the Syndra and see how it goes from there, because it worked that game. It really did work that game. The judgment that Rich Gang was showing in game 1 and 2 was completely out the window. Maybe Rich Gang just need to put themselves onto these big range compositions and see how it goes.
And I have to give a shout out to the Finnish man from the Div 2 himself, Carvis. He dropped me a little message in the course of this last break, and he said, hey, you know what? This isn't the first time Blue Whites have reverse swept a Div 2 team. Now, it wasn't Rich Gang, but they have done it before, so maybe they can do it again. People are saying O2 is their comfort zone. You know what? Sometimes with Blue Whites, you have to believe it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that really helps. If you have a history of doing so, if you know, okay, I've got one, we now have to get 3. Remember then Voxnay, for example, over in NLC 1 was the king of reverse sweeping in grand finals. He's done it multiple times on different teams with different organizations and different lineups. Sometimes you'll just start to feel it. You know how the rest of the series goes. And when you know that goes into a win, that can count so heavily for your mental as you go straight into the draft. Basically 5 seconds after production told me we'd be in draft in a minute. MF down again. Like Blue Whites, maybe they see the light of the Varus. The Senna, though, still going down. Senna, Seraphine have been the big 2 that Rich Gang have been banning every single time. It looks like Blue Whites, they might be thinking about leaving that Varus open and going for it themselves as a first pick.
And I wonder if there's an angle where actually we see the Syndra banned away and the Zyra left open. The Viego banned away from Blue Whites.
The Zeri. Yeah, they are fine with those 2 big. Let's see. Do Rich Gang ban the Zyra or do they leave the Varus up?
They have left Vi open as well.
Yep, Vi is open too. That has gone both ways. It has been Blue Whites that have been trying to deny that. Let's see, the Zyra will be the one banned. Varus is open. Will Blue Whites just take it? Do we believe that to be the big power pick of the series? That lethality Varus that is just massacring everyone's solo queue. It's Varus meta, baby, and Varus has been slammed in. Leona is up. Plenty of champions that have been to low mobility is up. It's Varus right now, sniping from 2 screens away. It's a different beast entirely, and no one really has the balls to cognitive.
You say Cogmore? You say Cogmore into it?
Cogmore. Yeah, Cogmore's always the king. Once you move into these low mobility, the end of those tunnels, or if you just go all in all the time, we'll see. They're committing to the sins of last game. They are. Blue Whites, they have the makings of a big disengage comp with that Varus, and they've taken one of the big power picks of the series. So, looks like back to plan B. Blue Whites, they're going with the disengage. They're going with similar that they did before. They're going to have the control factor for the Zeri in that Vi. That was enough for them last time. They didn't need to overstack it with the Nautilus. They really believe in this Kennen pick.
Yeah.
Lux are going again. Let's see if Rich Gang really believe in their Nasus.
Well, I wonder if they're going to go back to the Renekton, right? Because it was banned away from them last time. So they could potentially go back into the Renekton, which admittedly we both said wasn't necessarily the best matchup, but they made it work. You know, they were able to get it going. So maybe for Rich Gang it does, you know, and that's what we've said throughout the whole series. Sometimes it's not the best draft that wins. Sometimes it is just how you play the game. And so far, we've seen a lot of different moments, and the Renekton beating up the Kennen was one of them.
I mean, you'd also end up... Actually, no, you already have your jungle. It is going to be the Renekton. They are... This is heavy, all in, all the time, full melee, all the time. Into a Varus opener. I'm not sure you want that. Syndra feels really, really good again for Blue Whites here. If you assume that Rich Gang will just go in that mode of just going all in on me. If you assume that, then honestly, I think Blue Whites feel really, really comfortable. I'd still be worried about the Nautilus with the Zeri. I think overloading the Zeri with that could be really, really bad. You saw how Zeri was struggling to survive last game. The Luna that's going to go down, though. Instead, very.
Which makes me think, what are they cooking? Like, if they're banning Leona, what are they thinking about picking up for themselves? Because I would have thought, okay, we got the Varus, the Nautilus might be potentially the pick for he gets. They might just go back to that rel because it seemed to work in the last game. Why not bring it back once more?
Yes.
Let Kansky have the Leona, but instead it's actually going to be Rich Gang that said no Leonas in this game. The Leona going to be banned away. Surely Syndra does get taken out here.
I feel like does Kolos really go for those kinds of champions? I feel like this is going to be an Orianna game.
Well, no, Syndra banned for the Rich Gang team, right? So unless you're down for Orianna into Syndra.
Yeah. I mean, but if you do that, open. I think Blue Whites are actually being put onto the kind of champions they could really want. Maybe we see a different Rich Gang to last game. Maybe we see a more calm and reserved Rich Gang. But Blue White's roster is honestly better than it was last time around for dealing with Rich Gang. So let's see how this last pick goes. I am interested to see what they think, because this indicates a big low mobility pick. So I am thinking Orianna. If you ban Jace and Kalash goes Orianna, you've just banned two things Orianna doesn't really like to go into. So let's see. It's Orianna. I guess Pomo would just go Syndra again. So then you have full disengage versus a Orianna full delivery composition. This is an Orianna. No,
it adds to it. It adds to it.
The other thing they could be looking at, if this is a Varus mid and they commit to another AD carry right now, that is a Yasuo comp. That is a big Yasuo composition I'm looking at. There's the Nautilus, the point and click to deal with the Zeri. But with the Renekton pick, you feel safe to go the Yasuo because the enemy can't go Renekton plus Varus and flex the Renekton mid lane into the Yasuo. Make the Renekton pick make a lot of sense, right? It would. They've gone with this. This is the pick I was gonna mention other than the Nautilus. This is the more complex version of what Nautilus can bring, countering the terrain scaling of the Zeri more manually. As the Rakan, plenty of people favorite it. You can go Yasuo here. You can go Yasuo here and it'll actually be quite strong. So it's going to be Varus bot lane, it's going to be Vi, it's going to be Corki, it's going to be Kennen. I think Yasuo does feel quite strong here with the knockup that you just got. Alternatively, just all in on the Orianna bull delivery. I think you can do that in towards the Corki. I don't really think you can. I think it would be kind of difficult to do so.
Oh,
Powerpuff Girls. So close to like full Powerpuff Girls, actually. So close. They're able to get... Massive.
I kind of forgot about the Ahri. I'll be honest. I did kind of forget about the Ahri being open. It was there. And I actually think that works really well. Because like now, you have a lot of ways to get in on the Varus. You have a lot of ways to pick the Corki. And I will say this, and maybe this isn't necessarily like going to add up. But I feel like the Rakan was played in the game too, which obviously didn't go very well. And I do feel like Rich Gang's composition once again matches that game 2 energy of, you know, if we get ahead, the game is over. There is no opportunity for you to play.
I mean, Rich Gang here, their composition does really well in like the 3v3, right? In the skirmishes there. I feel like groups, they actually don't have a lot of options into blue-whites, because if they go all in with the Alistar, with the Renekton, with the Gwen, I think the options from the Kennen and from the Varus are kind of obvious, like with last. So I do think they're thinking we are actually running them around the map. And then when we split them up, we're not going to capitalizing on it right now. So we will go for this kind of pick-based composition. If Alistar lands something, Renekton lands something, the Ahri follows up with Charm, the Zeri follows up, we can immediately make that into a numbers advantage, right, really early on. So this feels like a skirmish-heavy one, but not necessarily a 5v5 heavy draft. Bit more even than last game, but bear in mind, last game, I thought it was really in favor of Rich Gang, the draft, right? So when I say much more even, I think Rich Gang have done a worse job coming in here. And bear in mind, this is now double AP. Jungle mid. That's why we weren't really considering the Ahri too much, and why the Orianna felt a bit potentially mythical, and it felt like they were setting up for the Yasuo game.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to see it. It's definitely a little bit of a different change in the wind, right? It does feel like a little bit of different energy going into game 4 here. Not that crazy wave that Rich Gang were riding in game number 1 and game number 2 after a close game and an absolutely dismissive one. Blue Whites, they came with the dam. They stopped the water. They stopped the surge. But is it going to bounce back? Is there going to be a second incoming wave to crash over the fort the Blue Whites have built up? We'll find out very shortly, veteran. I feel like, again, I do kind of agree with you, right? I think it's a really nice setup for Blue Whites on the team fight. And Rich Gang, we have seen them very good on the macro. They were really good at getting those towers across in the last game. But can they open that up with some more skirmishes and not give over those big team fight losses?
Did last game change your mind, by the way? Because there was a lot of craziness coming out of Rich. So, like, who does win, right? Crazy man.
I think in a way it added maybe like a little bit more of a twist of like, actually, the crazy man maybe doesn't have the opportunity to become the smart man, but the smart man could devolve into the crazy man. So therefore does have the opportunity to switch it up, you know, because everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. So that might make them crazy versus crazy in the end.
True. Yeah, actually, that's really true. Maybe the punch in the face is the great equalizer. You know, you just all roads lead to being crazy in the ring. You know, all that brain damage eventually sets.
And that's crabs are actually crazy. There we go. All roads leads to crabs that are crazy. I think that's actually just evolution 101.
True. Yeah, that is an insane reference. I didn't expect you to do. There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Everything tends to evolve into crabs. That's the thing, right? Multiple different species have evolved into crabs. Yeah.
I really do want to know why, but I guess that's a question for another time. Are there any crab-like champions in League? I feel like it's obviously Crab God, but that's not a crab champion.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have a crab champ. I mean, they just leaned away after Rexa. I feel like they just leaned away from these big non-humans, and now it's all like, can we sell more Seraphine skins, you know?
Yeah. Although early prio from Blue Whites this time, actually. Rich Gang obviously notoriously were liking that in the earlier stages, but this time Blue Whites going to be taking the lead here, the bull by the horns, if you may say. It's going to see actually going to just knock away MKR.
And we're going to get like serious femboy representation before we get serious crab representation. Shout outs to my crustaceans out there, to be honest. All right, I hope you get the representation in League that you deserve.
As right now, Mirai taking a lot of poke damage. The knockup going to come through, not going to land. Ooh, it gets almost finding what they need, but the flash already burned.
Yeah, I mean, this is momentum. I will say topside. Looks like Renekton's doing fairly well on the early waves there. I'm starting to question how well I actually know this matchup. Oh my lord, actually. Okay, what are we doing here, by the way? What are we doing here? Good wave state for Typical here to start playing really hard onto Velox off of, but I feel like Velox is going to still be able to get that crash in regardless. You do have Gwen ending her clear on towards the bot side along with Vi, so this is going to be a distinctly one-on-one lane on top. I feel like Veloxa here is going to be able to get that crash and get a recall in, so a lot of that HP is losing. It's not going to matter in the long run. MKR gets playing really hard forward with that flash burn from Mirai. No flash burns currently on the side of Blue Whites, and they do have Barrier plus Ignite. Very, very aggressive from there.
I would say I do think you're on the money with the matchup, because I remember talking to Aragon about this at one point on his stream, and he says he always references Kennen being the worst thing to play against, right? And like all memories of good Kennens just making the game impossible. So I do feel like it's a bit of a skill matchup with it being Kennen favored, as Rich Gang are not having fun on the bot lane. Mirai is getting a lot of pressure put upon them due to the range of the Varus, and now even a little bit of pressure exertion maybe from Kansky just doesn't lead to very much, and MKR can keep playing the game with Yones very much in the vicinity.
Yeah, it looks like, though, Blue-Whites, they will be able to get this last crash in to reset. And Mirai does not have the HP to risk getting that shove out. Gwen's going to reset as well, effectively abandoning bot lane to their fate. They will end up on the bad way still the next round, and that's when Gwen is going to make the kind of play that counts for Loxa. Getting Typical down here. Typical, he has won pretty much every laning phase so far, irrespective of the match. Whoa, did you just see that quality increase? Oh!
Ooh,
oh, the
crispy.
budget came in, guys. The budget came in. Yep, and Typical, not in that good of a position here, to be honest. Yeah, he's
when it may be getting worse, dives forward, Vi turns up. Typical, let's get the level up, but gonna have to flash away. And right now, Rich Gang very much on the back foot. Look at the CS for the Zeri, by the way.
Dude, if they go reverse sweep here, again, I mean, I've been streaming apparently. So yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, you know what I mean. This is a different Rich Gang than we've seen early. Yes, Blue-Whites did do well in the early game in Game 1 and in Game 3, but Rich Gang aren't typically losing out on stuff like this. It's normally when it comes to like the groupings and the jungle matches where Jonas is being able to make a really big difference, but it's not been that case here, right? Jonas did not get some like cheesy gank on early and snowballed that into really good skirmishes and really good matches. It is the case that honestly, he's just kind of outplaying them on the map straight up. They're outplaying themselves straight up. They lack the synchronicity on the ways that they had before. I do think Rich Gang have been taken out of it somewhat after devastating defeat in Game 3. This feels like a different Rich Gang to what I'm normally seeing. Mid lane has been the big crashing point so far, though. Both Pomo and Karush have gone toe-to-toe every single game. We've had different winners, it feels like, every single game, game for game for game. Let's see who ends up winning out here. The mild lead on Corki in terms of CS on mid lane, but now that the Sixers have come out, let's see if Karush is able to do anything on the map or able to do anything in that lane itself, as Blue-Whites get another slow push on towards bot side.
Mirai able to dodge out quite a bit of damage there, but yeah, I do get what you mean. It feels like they were all guns blazing, and now the gunpowder seems a bit wet from Rich Gang. They're just very quiet and not really able to do a lot. Karosh being forced out of lane as well, and Slice is there to just watch the wave push in. But once more, Blue-Whites pushing Karosh out of lane. It's the story that we had all of last game. Pomo able just to stay in lane, push another wave, another one lost by Karosh. The XP started to stack up.
Yeah, it looks like Rich Gang, though, they do get that crash out in topside. They do get that priority, and they do pivot off of that straight in towards the... No such response possible, as Vi's decided that is the trait. That
MKR are going to have to flash away here. And Rich Gang, okay, finally getting a little bit of a respite in the bot side there, because MKR maybe just staying a little bit too close towards Kansky, obviously at risk of maybe getting headbutted towards the tower. But Mirai now in trouble. The ignite is going to be coming through, and then it's going to be an easy kill picked up. Kansky might be going down as well. 2 kills in the bot side and a dragon. Blue-Whites off to a great start.
Really difficult for Rich Gang to actually fully commit onto those trades, and they eventually just get whittled down until Blue-Whites feel they can heavy it all 2v2, because who ends up winning those trades? It's actually the side whose jungler is closest to them there. And that, for Rich Gang, was not their grub-taking jungler over towards the top side, right? Slice was busy taking grubs, everybody knew it, whereas Vi was trading on heavily on bot side, so Rich Gang, they couldn't commit when they had that big advantage. Blue-Whites able to bring it back on towards the bot side. A significant lead for MKR.
Oh, Pomo stepping quite far forward here. Is going to meet Kansky face to face. There's the stun as well, landing a little bit more damage. Would take the kill. One more auto. There's the Orb of Deception to pick it up, as now Yones going aggressive here. Does get the tower to do much damage to Typical, but it does not mean anything. The pickup is not there, and it's a double kill to Karosh.
Yep, despite the CS lead that Corki is being able to accumulate here, it's Ari that gets the first 2 kills of Rich Gang's game. I keep almost calling him Rogue. Of Rich Gang's game on the midsection. Yeah, we now have a 2-0 Ari going straight into the game. Bot lane, Not getting that level of success, though. That Varus has the CS lead and has the double kill lead over that Zoe. Let's see if Ari is able to transfer this on the mid lane in towards her bot lane, who desperately need it.
I just saw the CS of Zeri. Like, it started to go up a little bit, but damn, almost 30 CS down this early on is a very miserable time, and we'll see how that equates. Because we saw last game, Mirai picking up a lot of gold and wasn't able to really convert it into a win.
Yeah, not really able to do so. But MKR, you know, this guy has been suffering every single game. He's normally getting free from his tower on repeat, whereas this game, he's getting a significant lead in that 2v2 solo. It doesn't seem to be getting contested by Rich Gang. Rich Gang appear to be trying to trade really, really hard around Typical on that top side. Once again, able to win his matchup. And this time, they're like, okay, yeah, we'll just play with that. We will play really, really hard for these scrubs. We will play really hard away from Mirai. And MKR finally able to show that he is able to take it to Mirai. You've always had that feeling. Surely there's more this guy can show he's not being 3v1 consistently. In this game, you're seeing it, right? Really big focal point for this team going forwards. Koresh lands a charm, but doesn't stack the Q with it.
And the wave crushing once again. And Slice just quite quiet in this game. I feel like that's probably the biggest disparity from games 2 and 1, especially for me, is that I feel like Slice just hasn't really been around the map. You know, we haven't really been seeing any invades. We haven't really seen any pressure on towards Yonez. Yes, they did pick up the grubs, but even then they haven't really gone for any ganks either. So it does feel like they are the one that has changed the most in this game. But maybe it is just about biding time. Maybe they decided, okay, you know what? We went a bit crazy, guys. Let's take a step back. Let's take a breather, control ourselves. And when we go into the next game, just don't give it all away in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. Very even game, but it's still a 1k gold lead over on the side of Blue Whites. You will just get more topside control coming out of that Gwendo. It's all about this topside for Rich Gang. They really don't care about anywhere else, while Blue Whites are putting on a demanding show on the bot lane. Look at that. Absolute dominating fashion on top of Mirai. He is really worried. Burns the R just to make sure that he can't get dived without that wave being completely absent. So MKR isn't able to just walk on the tower for free. But that is going to cost Mirai the next wave as he has to exit the lane itself. Rich Gang, though, they seem to have found something on top. Have they?
Yonez is going to be locked up here, and there's the rotation. That's what you said. They find a pick, they turn people over into the play, they managed to get the win, and now they're going to get 6 grubs.
Yep, 6 scrubs straight up for them. This is the first time in this series I think either side has gotten 6 scrubs. Rich Gang playing ridiculously hard for it. Let's see if they're able to do something. This does put you in positions where even if you're behind on tempo and you're simply trading lane states, you're very easily able to get ahead on tempo if the enemy keeps up the trade. So it does change the decisions both sides have to make. Let's see if Rich Gang know how they need to play it.
It does definitely fit how they want to play this game. As we said, they don't want to go on those 5v5s. They want to split the map open. Ari, Renekton, pretty nice on the split push there. So definitely the way to play. Rich Gang identifying a huge win condition for them, but the Dragons are going to maybe start to play a bit of a role because we are going to see the second in 16 seconds. And I feel like this should be an easy take for Blue Whites given the state of the bot lane.
Yeah, pretty incredible. This looks like a 3v2 on the side of Blue Whites. They even have the Corki leaning first in towards bot side. They're putting the pressure on Mirai rather than the pressure on MKR, as Rich Gang have been doing for the other games. Ari staying out because she knows that her jungle is effectively off map for her. She can't touch wave first. She's allowing Corki to make that move it in so she can farm it safely. They don't care about contesting this Drake. Lord knows they can't unless they thought they could force really, really hard on bot. That's the only way they would be able to do so right now with that insane level of priority on bot off the Lethality Varus, the champion that we've identified as a big power pick of the series. There's no way Rich Gang are going to be able to contest. It looks like another wave is going to be dropped for the Zeri. She's suffering with all of this poke on the tower.
Another wave lost. More tower plates gained. And another actually, hold on 1 second. Here comes the TP. I believe it was spotted. It's a double TP as well. They're looking to turn the fate of this whole bot lane right here, right now. Chains of Corruption going to land onto Typical. Now moving forward is Slice. They're looking for the opening onto MKR. Can they get onto the Varus? They're going forward.
Oh!
There as well. That's 2. They're looking for 3. Yonis under the tower is going to go down as well. And Rich Gang have pounced and absolutely clawed their way back into this game.
Nice 3-1 you said, and looks like Rich Gang are on schedule with that. Last time that we saw them with a lead, they never left. Last game wasn't able to be that way. Last game they were the one snowballed on, but the one game that we have seen a significant lead from them, it's being very one-sided. And this double teleport play by Renekton and Ari to catch MKR out on towards the backside with Kansky coming in. My god, this one absolutely hands. Slice goes in, but Kansky with this massive triple airborne locks them in place for all of the damage coming down on the side of Rich Gang. And run as they might, they all fall eventually. Ari 4-0-1. We were wondering if she transferred those 2 kills around the map. She has. One big play has set Rich Gang in with a great 2k gold lead. They're down 2 Drakes, but they have 6 scrubs. They have the ability to play the map, and now they have the economy with which to do so.
And they took the first tower in the bot side as well, all off of that one play. Rich Gang were biding their time. They were waiting for the opportunity to snipe through and take the lead back. And they've done just that. But can they hold on? Right, still a big deficit in that bot side. Mirai still needs time to get as strong as MKR. May never actually get there until very, very late in the game. But their jungler, their mid laner, both very powerful and have been keys to the success. If we think about game 2, a lot of that came off of Krosh being so far ahead.
Yep, and I'm really curious how they decide to play out now, because they're actually not being matched. If they can get info on the Vi, and Lord knows it feels like they have it from the deep vision they're doing. They should just trade really, really hard in towards topside. Zeri should try to catch shallow on mid while you do this. I feel like with their propensity to be going for grubs, they do want to just trade help over anything, and they do have Renekton fixing bots, so this feels like a huge map win for Rich Gang. A huge map win and a really easy way to get additional tempo on top of that. I really think this Hell has a lot of potential for them. If you shift this down in towards bot side at the proper timing, you could actually open up Inhibitor for that Baron and have a really clean route to an end game. But I feel like they're either going to traditionally drop it on towards mid for maybe that Drake in 2 waves time.
Oh, and
or
Yones, I think a fight with Typical. I don't know why they're scrapping. No one is dying here. But we are going to potentially see Veloxa die.
Here we go.
He is under this tower, going to have to run away, and gives up all potential to this one. It will be broken down. Tier 1 taken, and a little bit more gold added to the bank of Rich Gang.
Yep, and no Herald has been dropped. They're very disciplined about that. They know that they can get the side towers at Herald. They always end up saving their Herald. That seems to be a really consistent pattern with them. I do feel like, again, this will be a Herald on midsection play. Typical is getting threatened by a dive by Pomo and Yones.
Oh, Pops the Dominus, though, doing quite a lot of damage to the Corki. Flashes away to the fly, able to get over Yones, but it may not lead to much more. Needs to try and get into range of Pomo, and just at the moment cannot get anywhere near close.
Oh my
Although,
Lord.
we'll keep trying. Dices and dices, but we'll just have to go back to the wave. Saves their life, but not the tower.
Yep, nice flash by Typical there to get away from the knuckle and try to extend the play even further. Pomo trying to get away along with the Vi. Karosh moving up on towards the wave. Does Karosh have a sixth sense about this? He does not. Tosses the Q entirely on the wave. Pomo cancels his recall. Is there a plan here? What is Pomo thinking? If he finished that recall, he could have actually gotten a buy-in if he's thinking about a potential TP play. Maybe he doesn't have the gold for a buy.
Ooh, and here we go.
Flanking.
Pomo jumping in on the back of it. Nice knock-up. Will hold Ari in place. That's a massive shutdown going towards the Vi. But can they keep it in their favor? With the big slicing Maelstrom cuts through the team. And Rich Gang have no space to run or turn. Slice now trying to get back out of this one alive. MKR looking for the snipe, I believe, is still in range. But it will not come through, Veteran. But a big team fight play there. Rich Gang, like you said, they've always been struggling on this. They need a quick play, but it wasn't quick enough, and Slice is still in his jungle, gets caught out, another kill taken, and a slow but steady kill lead will accrue once again for Blue Whites.
In a skirmish, sure, but in a straight 5v5, Blue White's composition is king, as they're aptly able to demonstrate here. Pomo baiting, staying in that blush, not letting them think that he was able to recall, but instead moves straight in towards the backline, gets all of his burst out, and then Kennen arriving late with a massive 4-man ultimate on that. Kennen absolutely insane by Volax there. Really good all around. They were able to set up that massive group situation that should be a struggle.
We're not done yet. We're not done yet. Typical in the middle of the fight, getting people low, but not going to get the kill. And MKR able to get away. Wasn't picked up there. And it's not going well for Rich Gang. It's what we saw in game number 3. They're starting to overextend. They're starting to lose these fights, and they're giving a lot of gold over to Blue Whites. Admittedly, it is only 1.1k, but now a third dragon picked up, 1 away from Soul Point for Blue Whites.
It's 1.1k, but that reflects a 3k gold. Remember, they were 2k gold for that fight that happened around the red buff. Kind of insane. So that game 2 where Rich Gang took that lead and they never gave it up doesn't seem to be getting repeated here. They have a really good skirmish, but they are getting put into these more massive groupings, these big 5v5s, right? These big 4-on-4 pluses. They need to play map. That's what you've comped for. You have those grubs. Hello. Funny song, nice. You have those grubs. You have the Herald. You should be playing for... I mean, you don't have the Herald anymore. You should be playing really, really hard for the map. You should be playing really hard for the map. So you should be playing away from the Blue Whites, groupings. That's the way that you'll win. Force Blue Whites to trickle in slowly, and those are the fights that you would want to take. Those are the fights where you can make them. You don't want to go for these straight big 5-on-5s. Your map-based team play like it. This is not.
Oh, but this is a little bit of a strange engage there from Kansky. It was a 4 versus 2 at the start of that play, and yes, they can definitely start to rotate members. But as we said, we don't want to see the 5 versus 5. No TB from Pomo though, so it would be 4 at max. Yonen's going to be able to get away from the CC completely, and typical really reaching, but cannot find the landing shot. And again, another easy kill given over to Blue Whites by overextensions from Rich Gang.
So this is just the game plan. Just give Rich Gang all of their champions that go in and assume they will go in. Pick disengage, pick AoE, and just keep playing that way because it's working, right? It works in game 3. It's working in game 4. It's potentially sending us to Silver Scrapes if Rich Gang don't recognize. They don't have to be doing this all the time. They are actually a really smart team around the map when they don't lose their brains.
3 towers taken. The mid-tier 1 now going to be going down to Blue Whites. They're extending this lead further and further. And I would really like to see, can we potentially get the individual gold of all the players? Because I want to see where this gold is really split across the map. Because at the moment, this Varus is still so far ahead of Mirai.
Yeah, extremely far ahead. Oh my god, 8.4k gold versus 6.6k. Almost the entirety of the gold lead is actually on him. It's 2.4k gold lead, 2.3k gold overall, right? Almost 2k of that being the Varus, the champion we have talked about as being a huge pick in the series, but crucially, the big comeback pick in game 1. That was for Rich Gang. This time, it's Blue Whites that need the comeback power, and they had the Varus that entire time. He's mega fed, he is online, and he is here to stay.
Rich Gang still just giving over these leads to Blue Whites, but very much like game 1, there is the chance of the pendulum to swing back towards Rich Gang. It's happened once before in this game. It could happen again. But I think they'll have to do it by a little bit smarter play and a little bit less go in and press our buttons at the same time.
Yep, I mean, you have grubs, boys. You have grubs. Just trade away. They want to go 2 on this, play really, really hard mid and bot.
Yeah, and don't trade like that.
Deleted. Yeah, I mean, Corki is a shredder now, right? Remember, mid-range assassin Corki. They are able to get mid tower. That is a really big objective, but it just matches the mid tower that Blue Whites have already been able to get down. They're clawing their way back to an even state rather than towards the winning state as Corki takes out that top tower and will guarantee the crash before reset.
In the game, slow and steady, how Blue Whites would want it. Rich Gang, it feels like they've played a very calm and collected game, and then when they got a lead, they then decided to just throw it all away. So yeah. I do wonder how they're going to try and claw themselves back into it. Again, as we said, it's not a big gold lead, but where the gold is what's the big issue. And the next dragon is spawning in 40 seconds, veteran, and the soul point is what is for grabs.
Soul point, soul entirely for Blue Whites. It's Rich Gang that want to be denying that soul, and they're nowhere near a soul point themselves because they've seeded every single Drake back when they were trading all of the Drakes for tempo. They can't do that anymore. This is actually a scenario where they do somewhat have to match. Very, very valuable soul coming out. You can immediately see with that Kennen, with that Vi, with that Corki, with that Varus, how this soul could be so valuable for Blue Whites. They are going to get really significant control. You're basically having to face check into them as Rich Gang. Your composition's not as suited for a straight 5-on-5 as Blue Whites is, but yet nonetheless you are forced. They're trying to make a pick.
Pomo potentially getting called out here. There's the stun. Gonna land on the Pomo. Do they have the damage? He's not dead just yet. He's still alive. Will finally fall down, but was it fast enough? Slice running through the back of the team.
Slice
are in big trouble here. Getting cut down. It gets now also in trouble, and Blue Whites are being forced to run towards the base of Rich Gang. They are on the back foot. They're waiting for some cooldowns because they still have a lot of damage intact, but it is all starting to disappear. Yone is down. MKR the last alive and trying to fend for himself.
Yeah, they don't want none of what MKR has there. They've all backed away off of that AoE from MKR. They know they're actually very, very vulnerable to the Varus still, even though they are pinning the Varus right where they want him. I imagine, given that we aren't moving away from this replay, that he's actually managed to make it out there. I thought they were quite cooked when they went straight on Pomo here. They had the exhaust on him, but they weren't able to take him down. Very worried, but Slice was able to get on the backline on MKR. The Varus he's been talking about as that big frightening champion in this meta was not able to do much damage until now, when the fight is essentially already over, thanks to what Slice on his comfort Gwen was doing on the side there. It looks like red side is straight on. They just done it. They've given up the soul for it, but they've got Baron. I typically prefer soul, and here I would still prefer soul over the Baron, because Blue Whites now, if they want to get back against a Baron empowered team, they're going to have to fight, right? And this just really, really helps them on that fight. They're already in a better position to do straight 5-on-5s. They're going to be comfortable on that. Not sure burning Kennen was worth there, but we'll see. They don't have to stall for very long before they have that ability up again, and I still feel like they're confident in winning these 5-on-5s.
Goldie now slightly in the favor of Rich Gang. Once again, the pendulum does swing, and now they're starting to pressure onto these towers. Do have the 6 scrubs, remember, and they will be able to slice through that tower so quickly. Tier 2 gone. Gold influx once again up on Rich Gang's side.
Yeah, gold influx is up, but for how long? Corki's actually being able to equalize on the bot side here. Ari's nowhere near even hitting that tier 2. I wouldn't be surprised if Corki has ended up staying on bot and continued to go. They're kind of assuming that Rich Gang have already matched recall, which they have not. Renekton coming out now. Renekton does have the teleport. Rich Gang looking to do something on the next wave. That was Corki showing up in mid, so Rich Gang should feel confident to move straight up and start hitting this tower. Karosh already burning.
They are moving over quick. Here's the engage. Now Blue White's able to move their moments over. Unbreakable time, and Kanski's just trying to hold out as Zeri chased all the way down by the Vi. It's a little bit of a messy one, but the Zeri is still unkilled. You're in trouble, and Rich Gang are turning it around. Slice with a major turnaround in this game, able to cut them down. Varus has died as well, and Rich Gang, they managed to win the fight.
Yeah, they split them up. It effectively became a skirmish. It was not a straight 5v5. They didn't move into them. They actually kited Blue Whites all the way back. They have Baron empowered minions.
Can they end?
They have 1. They have 2. They only see Pomo in their way. Still a very powerful champ. Oh, let's see what they do here.
Pomo stepping
no!
The charm not going to land. Pomo has to dash away. The Valkyrie's there. The towers are being taken down. The rockets are flying in, but the snip comes through. Slice trying to cut them down. They're looking for the end. Pomo gets one. The tower is about going to fall, but the Nexus will stay standing.
Pomo quadra
forward. Will kill off Mirai. Surely the knock-up not going to land. Mirai, a little bit more space, a little bit more range. Pomo waiting. In goes Toe and will finish off the kill.
I thought we were going to see the end there, but in fact, it's a quadra kill for Pomo. It is an open nexus. It is an open base from that inhibitor on the top side. But, my God, man, just barely. Blue Whites are still in this, right? The Kings of the reverse sweep. They are in their element here when their backs are against the wall, and their backs are truly against the wall now. And Pomo, he showed up on that Corki in game 1. It wasn't enough to carry the victory. But maybe, just maybe in game 4, it's enough to bring it to silver.
And the start of this engage, it looked so bad for Rich Gang right here. It looked like Blue Whites were going to wipe them from the game. The Unbreakable Will, the knock-up onto Pomo buys so much time. And look how far they drag the Vi out of position. But it just comes down to a scrap.
Yeah, I mean, you can see, though, by kiting them back this hard, how thinly they were spread. And also, their Alistar moving straight all the way to the right did split Pomo from that fight for a really long. Yes, technically have multiple angles to go in there as Blue White, but they weren't patient on it. They were just conveyor belting in a similar way to how they picked off. And then Pomo seems to feel really comfortable on this Corki, moving back, staying in as close as he can to do damage, and showing the immense amount of burst that this champion is still able to output. And once Egex comes in and is able to kill for him, all bets are off, and Pomo's able to barrel forward and save the game. But for how long?
Open Nexus, as you stated. No Baron buffs, though, on the map at the moment. Baron will be spawning up in 1 minute 55 as a knock up onto Pomo could potentially start a fight. It isn't going to lead to much more, but at the same time, Elder Drake in 156, and Typical is on a flank right now.
Yeah, he wants to go for it. He has been sighted. Blue White.
He's going to go in.
On him.
It is going to be an immediate removal of the Croc. No time to turn this around, and Blue White's now gained control of the map.
Yep, and they have a numbers advantage for the next 40 seconds as well. But that's only one more wave. It's the wave after that the Elder Drake is going to be in hard contention. So Typical will be out there. It's just a kill for now. It doesn't give them anything. Those inhibitor minions on the top side are still causing them to have to retreat back in towards the base. Nothing can be gained from Typical, but that flash is down, and that will matter later on. Who reaches MKR now?
He gets posturing aggressively here. Could have been a little bit risky if Rich Gang had sent it forward for this tower, but they instead take the reset timing. They do not want to get into a fight and lose it all over nothing. 1 minute until Elder Drake, 53 before Baron Veteran. It feels like we are getting very close to the end of this game.
Here we go, everybody coming out on the map with that Renekton. No flash on the Varus and no flash on the Renekton, but the Ahri does have flash and has her ultimate. Hansky on the Alistar does have flash, does have exhaust, does have ultimate. There are people who can get on top of MKR. The question is, will they? If they do they have enough tools to deal with Pomo, who has been showing up once again? 7-2-7, an absolutely monstrous game for him. Similar to the game one on the Corki, but they did lose that game one. They did lose that game one where Pomo had his brilliant Corki. Will this simply be a repeat? Yes.
Oh, typical. Already going in. There's the knock up. They're going for a play. Kansky managed to get the knock up onto the Varus and Pomo, but they could not close down the distance. And now the fight is super split. Slice holding them off. Vloxa with the full ultimate already gone through. Kansky engaging again as the cannon will fall finally. But Mirai looking for the entrance into the fight. They can't find it just yet again. It gets picked off, but MKR Pomo still completely untouched.
Everyone weaving in and out. So many cooldowns were traded to get that 1-for-1 there. Blue Whites, they do have the health disadvantage. Rich Gang, they feel good about Blue Whites face checking into them. They're starting the Elder. They're split right now.
Typical, buying a bit of space, getting chased down. The MKR needs to be careful. Slice going over the wall, gets into the shroud, will not get touched. Yone's in trouble. Pomo, though, over the wall, comes through and kills off the Renekton. Slice down looking to cut through the Corki, will go down. Mirai, able to
2v2.
MKR, it's still alive. The slime comes in, the Zeri's dead, and the dragon has to be left.
And super inhibitor minions are no longer spawning for Rich Gang. That big thing that they had for that Elder contest is no longer there. And all the priority is on blue team to be on the reset there and start to fix out these waves and go for the next contest. And the next contest, Rich Gang are not going to have a huge map advantage that they had for this entire time. If you go back into the replay here, you see Kansky was actually able to get onto both MKR and Pomo, but the follow-up was not there. Mirai wasn't there to follow up. Typical wasn't there to be able to follow up his CC. No one was there to follow up. And luckily, Cannon wasn't able to be there either, wasn't able to get the massive AoE damage, only able to get one at a time, struggling to get the big looping, and everyone trading so hard back and forth. It does seem to Blue Whites being low on HP, but Typical now is essentially in the 1v2 there into a 1v3. Slice moves over the wall, Yones goes in. This allows Mirai to do whatever Mirai wants, because that big crucial point of click is now down, but he moves back with Pomo, and this means Valus is now a mega long-range poke champion on the outskirts of the fight. Yes, Mirai picks up the 1,000 gold, but MKR picks up
Oh,
Mirai
we're
to
back in the
finish
fight,
it.
back in the fight, and 2 are already down. Pomo and he gets her alive, but there is no MKR in this fight.
Yone's still
Dragon
alive.
going to be
Go
in
for
major
it.
contention.
I wasn't
Jonas
expecting
needs
you
to
to go for
potentially
this,
go
Jon.
for the steal. They don't want to give Opa the option. They don't want to give the Pomo opportunity. Time to cut through the members. 3,000 on the Dragon.
No.
Jonas in the middle
Too
of the fight,
early.
looking to steal it. Does not get it. The Dragon
Elder.
goes the way of Rich Gang, and they're going to go straight towards, I believe, the base, but maybe even the Baron.
Yep, mid has been pinged. That is the mid wave they've pinged. I have not seen a single ping happen on towards the bet. They're going back. Well, that was deflating. They're going straight towards Baron, but they do want to set up an end game with both the Elder and the Baron. They're not going to try to go for the dives. They're going to try to play this by the book. Elder gives them a very free Baron along with all the deaths. Remember, Elder does not last very, very long. So the window where they're going to have both and they're going to be pressuring on the siege is going to be very small. Probably just 2 waves that Blue-Whites have to survive with that deadly combo. And then the rest is going to be entirely about the Baron. Mirai, I think, wants to get that final item. No real components available. Has the HP, has the mana, honestly, to extend on the map here. So let's see what Mirai is able to do.
Looking at the members of Blue-White starting to get back on the map. They're starting to move towards that topside river. And they understand the stakes right here. A win for Rich Gang ends the series and throws Blue-Whites down to the lower bracket. As we are going to see Kashki picked off here in major trouble, but gets
the
a
double knock up.
and maybe turns it around. The goes in, gets a kill, and it's
In
already
again.
Pomo down. But can they find MPR? Onto the backline they go. The Renekton is massive. Sliced on the chase. This could be it. This is it. It's all over. And Rich Gang are going to win.
I was asking you throughout the series, who wins in a fight? Is it the crazy man or is it the smart man? It's a trick question. It's the rich man every single time. And off the back of an insane engage by Kansuke, by Typical, Rich Gang are going to the grand finals.
Rich Gang have showed resilience, they showed adaptation, they showed even a little bit of struggle and a little bit of lack of composure, but through it all, veteran, they have come out on top. Blue-White supporters are devastated. They believed in the O2 buff, but today it will not be true.
Yep, game 1, game 4, very, very close back and forth. And game 2 and 3, each side had their dominating game. This was a close series despite being a 3-1. You saw a dominating Blue-White's game, dominating Rich Gang game, and an insane back and forth on the other 2. But Rich Gang were just that little bit there, little bit of a budget diff, if you ask me, from the boys in the grand finals.
It was a massive game, and it was a redemption arc for Rich Gang. They previously lost out to Blue-Whites. Now they've come back and won. Veteran, any final points for you to round out that series?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like Varus was able to show how insane he was, but he did fall right at the end there. That was a big goal there that they threw down by picking that Varus away. It'll be very interesting to see what the priorities are against Rich Gang, because you saw that Gwen, that Zoe be banned from them and then left open on the last 2 games, and it didn't work out for them in game 3, right? So I'll be really interested what teams get a read on Rich Gang in the grand finals. You could catch all of that action on NLC.
Indeed you can. That is going to be all from us. Shout out to our production, Casual Cutie, shout out to FaZe Cat, and shout out to Tiff putting it all together. Shout out to the teams, and that is going to be the win for Rich Gang. We will see them later in the finals. We will see Blue-Whites before that because they've gone to the lower bracket, but there is still a lot of action left in this promotion tournament. Make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you stay watching.